welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I am Cameron.
I know, and Cameron hasn't been on in probably 100+ episodes. It doesn't take very long for that to go by.
It's been 2 years, maybe, something like that. It's been a long fucking time.
Yeah, we haven't done one together in forever, and it's just, it's amazing how much it kind of goes by. This would be episode 366.
366.
It's so ridiculously, big.
Damn, dude, you've grown. Man, you're popping podcasts out like crazy.
I know. It's just you do one a week, every once in a while 2 a week, and next thing you know, it's just those numbers just keep going. And yeah, it's ridiculous, really, how much it is. And that's what makes me feel kind of we fit the Old Man Orange feel when we look at podcasts. Where our podcast has so many more episodes than almost everybody else who's not a celebrity.
Right. So who are you mainly doing podcasts with? Just Ryan?
Ryan still.
Nice.
Every once in a while we'll have somebody else on, but for the most part it's just, we kind of just do it over Skype and so on. But
are you able to do it up at your place?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool.
I do everything over the AT&T internet.
Hey, there you go, man.
So everything I do is through cellular internet.
There you go.
And lots of times actually I use my phone just because I never trust my PS4 or Xbox One. They're just gonna randomly start downloading something.
Sure.
Even though it's really not the download, it's the upload speed that matters.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but dude, we've been just talking here a little bit beforehand, kind of going over what new games each other's sort of got in the last while and all that fun stuff. And you can tell me all about the new stuff because I haven't, tried a lot of this stuff. I've been focusing all on this Sega Saturn kind of craze. I got this pseudo Saturn thing where you got the action replay and you plug it in the back for the cartridge section.
So I watched some YouTube videos. I've been a YouTube junkie lately. Action replay. I watched the entire history of what that thing is and how it all works and how Game Shark came out of it and all these different things. Very, very, very interesting how you used to be able to break games, and by purchasing these third-party items, plugging it into your console, uploading the cheat codes, getting, being able to mod the game essentially. And nowadays, what really trips me out is that some games have it to where you are paying out of pocket for those codes. And it's do you remember when Scholastic used to come around to your schools and stuff like that?
And they had the Game Shark books and the Game Genie books.
That was the only thing I would go for every single time, and it was so badass because you'd be able to play something like Siphon Filter with Big Head mode or something, you know?
You know that the people that put that together oh, we're gonna bring reading to the children, it's gonna be great and everything like that. What's this? Oh well, here, I guess I'll put one of these game books in here, and then they realize that's the only thing anybody's interested in. It's do the game, I remember getting one for Dreamcast and the PlayStation 1 and all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
Being so excited to have that little book that, only maybe had 30 games in it, if that even. There was never that much. But, no, it's one of those ones, when I think of Game Genie, Game Shark, action replay, and so this is technically actually the first action replay I've ever had. I've never had one. I've always just had Game Genie and Game Shark. But, the thing that's kind of funny about that is when you're a kid, when you first see Game Genie, or even Game Shark or whatever, it's almost blows your mind. Oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless. This thing is so cool.
Right.
I've never been able to beat X-Men, and now I can put these codes in. I got unlimited lives. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. And then all of a sudden you get to a teenager, and you just get that attitude Game Genie's fucking cheating, man.
Yep.
When you use that, a real gamer wouldn't use Game Genie, you know what I mean, that. And then I come back around to once I kind of got just a little bit older and so on, past 20, it's almost you know what? Game Genie's kind of cool. Every once in a while, I'll throw it on, because on the emulators they got the Game Genies and so on too. And you just be I just put limited lives on, you know what I mean? I don't feel that's that cheating really too much. Right. I mean, it is, but what I feel limited lives is, it just makes the game it's a modern game.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because all it is, I'm going to have to still do all the work, but I'll just get unlimited tries and I don't have to start from the very beginning every single time. Because that's mostly always the thing that kind of gets you is once you die and it's oh, I got to start 4 levels back, fuck this. New game.
Yep.
You know? So I've come to learn to really love Game Genie and I take it back. I have used a Game Shark not too long ago. I used it on a Dreamcast game and so
Right.
But
So this popped up in my little bit of a plug here. Facebook.com/FTVOLG. It's for the love of video games. Been running that game group for almost 6 years now. July will be 6 years.
Nice. Dude,
Got
July. That'll be 6 years of the podcast.
No shit.
Kid you not? Because it's all in July because that's when Dark Knight Rises came out.
There you go.
And that was right when we started. It was then.
So it popped up in that group that somehow, some way, a turbo controller came to mind. And like all of a sudden we're talking about turbo controllers within these forums and stuff. I didn't know that turbo controllers were even still a thing.
That's weird. I haven't seen a turbo controller.
What would you use a turbo controller for? The only thing that I remember a turbo controller even being mentioned within video games, at least in terms of the video game actually telling the player something, is in Metal Gear Solid. You remember when Snake is in the interrogation room and he's being tortured and all that, and Ocelot comes up and he's just like, I know if you're going to be using a turbo controller, like you're going to be cheating, And this kid in that group, I'm not going to name any names, but this kid in this group says that he uses turbo controllers to get achievements faster or more efficiently or whatever. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
Well, that's kind of weird because I used a turbo controller actually not that long ago and was playing Contra 1. Because that's almost where I feel like the games, they were pretty much invented for all the shooting games where you're just sitting there tapping A or B or whatever as fast as possible. Everything even like in games like Aerial Fighters and so on like that. But sometimes it's like, this is a kind of weird thing. You can hold down the button, but sometimes tapping, it's kind of almost fun too. I don't know what it is. But, it takes back. I actually used one not that long ago because when I was pulling out that Sega Saturn, coming all back to the pseudo Saturn thing, I downloaded House of the Dead because I always wanted that game and never wanted to pay $150 for it, and it's been $150 since 1998. So I was playing it and I didn't have the light gun, sadly enough, so I was using literally the joystick fight pad, and it had the turbo thing on there. I was like, well, fuck this. Put the turbo on, I held that down. But the odd thing was I couldn't use the turbo button of both A and B to both shoot and reload at the same time. It was weird. It cut it out. I don't know if that was either just a House of the Dead thing or the controller just couldn't do it, but it was so I was using there. But that's kind of interesting hearing somebody use it nowadays. Because it's weird because even off-brand controllers, it feels like that business is almost gone.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you can always find at least one or two off-brands, but you go down to Walmart or Target or even GameStop like that, how many off-brand controllers do you see? You see one or two token companies.
Not many.
You know what I mean? I mean, if you go on Amazon, you can find a couple more and so on that. But for the most part, it used to be in the olden days, you would go down there and there would be 3/4 of the controllers were off-brands. You know what I mean? You would have your one, you get your GameCube controller for $30. Oh, it's fucking expensive. I'll get that off-brand one for $15. Hopefully it'll be good enough. Right. And the chance of the off-brand, because people always look at the off-brand, they always call it some of them are pure terrible. They're always oh, it's so terrible. They always go they're all terrible. It's no, some off-brand controllers are actually superior to even the main ones. Or sometimes there's just some of them that are just kind of cool just in the way they are. Yeah. But nowadays, I would like to know what games. Well, I guess if you had a shooting game, because a lot of those games have the thing where it's fire so many rounds or something like that, and I could see that made. Right. But shooting games, I just don't think very many games where you tap, because that's the whole reason for the turbo controller is the makeup for the tapping.
Yeah. So reading that, we kind of tear this kid apart for it. One, because he is always talking about all of his achievements and all of his, look how many fucking points I have on Xbox Live and blah, blah, blah. Look how many games I've played and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. And he's always posting his, his high scores and, his achievement lists and whatnot. And then you see something like that and it's damn, dude, really? You basically just admitted that none of that's legit. I mean, turbo controller aside, I still haven't, made the connection of how that works within actually getting achievements. But I don't know, man. It's just some people. These achievement hunters and trophy hunters and things like that. To put into perspective, I've owned a PS3 since 2006. Mm-hmm. Over the course of the entire lifetime up until now, I have 3 platinum games. 3 games I've 100%, played through everything, got all the trophies and everything like that. But you have these people out there that just like use it as a status symbol, man, and it's just like really exactly what you just said. It's just like, well, you got a lot more fucking free time than I do.
That's all I see when I see that. I'm like, clearly you're not doing anything really productive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not saying that's not cool. I mean, probably the only platinum one I have, and this is like the most oddest one, is on the Sega Genesis collection. Well, it's not platinum, I guess it'd be what they call it on Xbox for like the trophy that's the highest, where you get them all. Because I had on 360, but that was the only game that I know that I did 100%. Like 1,000-point achievements,
right.
You know, and that was the only game that I know. Everything, there's a lot of games that gotten close, like you get like 900.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing that always got me is it was always the online ones, because I didn't have internet for the longest time on 360 and so on. So I would get every single player achievement and then be like, nope, I guess I'm not getting those other ones.
Yeah,
I'm never gonna play 100 matches online. I'll be lucky to play 5 matches online, so I'm not gonna play 100 matches online.
Yeah, and even right now, still games are launching with multiplayer trophies and achievements. When the game's like centric towards that, like a Call of Duty, for example, you know, like of course they're gonna have their campaign trophies, of course they're gonna have a little bit of zombie trophies, but you know, like that game mainly, like 80% of that player base is buying that game to play online.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
So for a game like that, it makes sense. But a game like Far Cry 5 that just came out,
does that Far Cry have multiplayer in it?
Oh yeah.
See, these are all these things that, well, I guess it makes sense. Original Far Cry had multiplayer. That was the only thing I remember playing. That was the days when we'd wake up early before school. It sounds so weird just to play Far Cry 1 multiplayer on Xbox.
Yeah. And right now I'm very close to finishing it. You know, like I have one more zone to go, and I basically have to take out Jacob and Joseph, which are like you know, antagonists of the game. But I'm looking at my achievement list, and majority of it's single player, but there's like 5 trophies in there that are multiplayer, and it's upsetting because I want to platinum that game, but I also don't want to have to get to level 20, you know, in multiplayer. I don't want to have to play these amount of rounds, you know, to get that trophy. And I don't know, man, like it's upsetting.
See,
you know?
I've kind of accepted that like achievements and trophies that like when I get them, it's cool, and I still like the feeling of getting one. There's still something kind of like, I got a trophy, they're cool, whatever, got achievement. But I don't seek them out anymore, like trying to like. And I don't think there ever really was. I mean, initially when I first kind of discovered them, I thought, I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. This is almost like it gives you more reason to play a game a little bit longer than you normally would, because you'll be doing things you wouldn't normally do. But a lot of times at the end of the day, it's like, I think it's like if they actually did something, like I always thought that like what those trophies should do is they should just give you like discounts in like the Play Store. Yeah. You know, either you know, one of those ones like if you get 1,000 points in Xbox or PlayStation, like on the trophy, like, trophy's 1,000 the same as PlayStation or same as Xbox.
So it's not scored per se. Remember it's all in tiers. It's like
that's
bronze,
true. Yeah. You
know, silver, gold, platinum, whatever. But they do have it in a sense where if you are, I'm gonna slaughter this and I apologize to your listeners, but essentially like if you're in the rewards program is what I'm gonna call it. I don't know exactly what it's called, but like there's
oh, the Sony rewards.
There's like an achievement club where you can trade in, you know, your trophies essentially for PSN cash or Xbox cash or whatever that might be.
Okay, well, because I'm a part of that Sony rewards one, but I used it for movies. Like, it was kind of cool. It's like literally you took 5 of your Sony DVDs and you just put the little code in the thing there or whatever, and they sent me a full-on Blu-ray brand new. I was like, oh sick, this is cool. Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with that. You know, like Disney kind of does that too, but I think Disney might need a little bit more. No, I want to say Disney did it too. Like, I registered like 5 movies and they sent me a free one. I think I got Dumbo on Disney and then I got Fury on Sony. I was like, yeah, that works.
See, I've always seen that where you can register your movies or register your games. I've never bothered with it. I never really knew what it was for.
I just one of these days, it's like, well, one, I was doing the thing where I was putting my digital, I'm like, you know what, I bought all these Blu-ray movies, like, I might as well get the digital copies, like, before they, like, expire and just, like, get them. So I was doing that, and as I was running through them, I was like, oh, well, here's this other thing for, like, Disney rewards, or here's this one for, like, the Sony rewards. So I just registered movies, and then it was like, oh, cool, like, yeah, as I said, like, and it came in, like, a week and everything like that. They sent it out, like, as fast as if you bought it off Sony.com. So I was like, that's kind of cool.
Wow. Well...
So it goes to show that sometimes it's worth, like, going a little bit of the extra mile for that.
Yeah.
Because it really didn't take me that long to do it. You know, it wasn't like I worked way harder than it was worth for, like, a movie. But, yeah, on Sony, I was pretty impressed. They had movies on there that were pretty much brand new. Like, they've only been out for, like, 3 months. So it wasn't like they're just giving you, like, the old, like, here's our like $5 bin, DVDs.
Right.
Pick which one you want if it's in stock.
Yeah. Well, to change subjects real quick, a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, something like that. It was right after Final Fantasy 15 came out. You bought me Final Fantasy 9.
Mm-hmm.
I played through that game on Steam. I absolutely love that game. Very surprising for me because I am not a turn-based genre fan.
Yeah.
I really do not like turn-based
It's
games.
funny because I'm like the exact opposite. Like if a game's like not turn-based and it's an RPG, it's like I have a hard time getting into it.
Right. So I had the itch to play that game and totally have it on my PC. Totally could have just launched it on my PC again, but I felt like, can I find this game mobile? Can I play this game mobile?
They have it on the phone, I know.
They do. So I jump on a Google Play Store, I look at it, I'm like, okay, it looks like it's the updated version for the PC, like that. Not really an HD remake, but it's just
It
like
pretty much is, though.
It's
I mean,
updated,
I mean, it's a remaster, but it's just a remaster of an older game.
So, $21.99. I'm looking at that price, going, is it that good? Can I really buy this? Fuck yeah. For me, as a non-turn-based fan, to actually enjoy playing that game, not only once, but I'm on my second playthrough right now on my phone. And literally every night before I go to bed, I make sure that I have 30, 45, an hour, something like that.
Just chug a little bit away.
Just a little bit of time. I'm currently just finished the Lindblum, quest line, getting through that city and everything, meeting Freya and blah, 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 and now I'm well on my way in that game world. Bro, the way that you shape my mind about that, just by saying dude, if you like 15, I have a feeling you're actually gonna like the Final Fantasy
you already
series.
dipped your toes into 15. Might as well try one of these ones.
And I'm very, very impressed with how 9 has held up. How even though it's an ancient game, I can still just pick it up and play it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people gawk at the fact that I'm playing it on a phone, especially in that game group that I'm in. A lot of people are looking at me like...
People always dissed on phone games, and it's like when it's a port of a real game, it's in RPGs are almost made for phones. They work perfectly on there.
There's nothing wrong with the touch controls in that game.
I have a little Bluetooth controller that I can hook up to my phone, which is actually pretty sick.
So this is the other thing that I did. I took my phone. I got the Samsung phone. Took my PS4 controller, and I actually figured out that if you hold down the PS button, you hold down the share button at the same time, it desyncs it.
Mm-hmm.
So doing that, I can hook to my phone via Bluetooth, and now all of a sudden I just prop my phone up, and now I got a controller in my hand, and I'm playing Final Fantasy IX with a controller.
Oh, that's sweet.
Now again, the actual touch controls aren't bad in a turn-based RPG like that because you're not doing anything really precise.
You're not running around and having to dodge and not ninja guiding it up or something.
So syncing up the PS4 controller to my phone, there is a slight delay. I'm not going to deny that there is a slight delay, and it's you'll be moving your character, you'll push up on the controller and you expect him to move at that exact second, but it takes half a second. It's such a slight delay. I can't imagine that would work very well for any other real type of game, but...
Well, because here, the one I have, the controller, I just literally bought it off Amazon, just some Chinese one. And the cool thing about it is it has this extension thing, so you stretch it out and you put your phone in it, and your phone literally sits it tightens down on it, and your phone's locked up on top of it, so it's you got a Game Boy, but the controller's sick. It's got every button that the Xbox and PlayStation have, R3s included and so on, and you click it on, and I've only really played with emulators on there. But everyone I tried, I was playing Castlevania Bloodlines, and it worked totally fine. I never felt any delay.
Really?
Playing Sonic the Hedgehog, playing Mario, and all that stuff, and it worked just great. I didn't see a delay. The battery lasted forever on it. I mean, I had it in my backpack for 3 weeks, and I pulled it back out, and it was oh, it still works.
Right.
I haven't really used it a ton, but it's one of those things. It was awesome. I probably spent $15 or $20 on it for Amazon. It was just one of these. It had good enough reviews, and it was just some Chinese company. I'm sure, I just want to play with one of these things. And, but it's sick. But the clicking on feature is almost so nice because it just stretches out. You put your phone in there and then it latches down and it's got little pads on it.
So it doesn't matter what size the phone is.
No, that's the nice thing. Is that any size will do. And then you spin it around and it's literally like a Game Boy, and it's got a real nice spring in there, so your phone's not falling out or anything. But I'm like, dude, this thing is sick. Like, if you really wanted to, you could dial in like a totally sweet, like portable, like classic game. Just put all kinds, just take an SD card and fill it up and so on.
So that was the other thing that I did with my phone that was so cool. It being an Android operating system, I was able to download emulators for it. So I downloaded the GP Game Boy Color emulator for it. I downloaded the ISO for Pokemon Yellow, and the entire trip that my wife and we took for our honeymoon, we flew down to Mexico. I played Pokemon Yellow the entire time I was down there, and that was another just really surreal moment because
it's so weird that you say that because the last time I ever went to Mexico, I played through Pokemon. Well, I got Red. I had Yellow already, but I bought a copy of Red just to play all the way through it.
Really?
When I was in Mexico.
I know, man. I made it to Fuchsia City. Mm-hmm. Fuchsia City is when we made it back to San Francisco from Mexico, and then I put it down and I stopped playing it since then. But it's so cool that you can, going back to what you were talking about with the Sega Saturn stuff and all that. The fact that you can emulate so much of this nowadays is so cool, and this is why I was to continue the conversation from earlier. Xbox emulator, PS3 emulator, the Sega Saturn emulator, especially the Xbox and the PS3. If we can get Halo on the PC, outside of that PC port, but be able to emulate it.
Yeah, and then start being able to mess with it.
There's so many good Xbox, original Xbox games that you can emulate on there. It's just nobody's really figured that out yet. And to go further on the PS3, like I mentioned earlier, imagine playing Metal Gear Solid 4 via an emulator on a PC.
Yeah, exactly. You got those options there.
Get those frame rates. Get those fucking extra buffering things. Get those anti-aliasing things. Clean. I mean, that game is already clean as fuck. It looks amazing still to this day, and it's 10 years old this year.
Yeah, odd.
I couldn't imagine. And then to go even further, to take a step further, imagine a PS4 emulator where you have a game like Bloodborne that deserves 60 frames. I know a lot of people out there are very 30 frames is fine, and I agree for the most part.
Yeah.
A game that's that precise, that takes that much skill and that much timing based combat. Imagine that on PC.
Yeah, no, there's that's always what makes it cool, because even just things especially when you take a PlayStation, emulator, and that one, the nice thing about PlayStation's always been really dialed in for PlayStation 1 emulator. Mm-hmm. You can get those games smooth and crystal clear and like that and so on. It's the Sega, coming back to originally the Sega Saturn thing, that one is those emulators I've never been able to get to work properly in my entire life. I've messing around with emulators since the 90s. Sega Saturn just seems all the ones that they have they just don't work that great. Yeah. I don't know what it is. It's a game might work, but then it kind of glitches as it goes on. You're well, this is fucking stupid. What the hell? I don't want to play a game unless it's 100% golden, And where the pseudo Saturn thing comes out, it's you put the cartridge in, you're playing it right on the system itself. You just whip a disc in, whether it be a foreign disc, American disc, Japanese disc, whatever and you can play it with your controller and everything like that. So it feels just like you're playing a Sega Saturn in the 90s. And, there's people always kind of oh, burning games and so on. It's dude, nobody's making money off this except for people on eBay. I mean, Sega's not making any money. Nobody's making money because, these games are out of print.
Yeah.
So it's I feel there's really, at the end of the day, emulators and ROMs, I've never felt there's anything wrong with it unless, this is the only system that I always feel you're really actually kind of doing a crime, is if you go out and download 3DS, emulators. Sure. If you're downloading games that are, literally you could go down to, the store and buy, that's the only time I feel it is. Yeah. But if you're getting games that technically haven't been released forever, I mean, even a PS3 one. Think about they don't make PS3 games anymore unless it's a remaster. And 360 and so on.
The way that I've always treated emulation, again, if you cannot find it, or if it's so fucking expensive that it's just not worth it, okay, download the emulator, download that ROM, download that ISO file, whatever. It's whatever. My whole thing is I wanted, I bought Skyrim on the 360. I bought Skyrim on the PS3. Both those playthroughs and multiple playthroughs, I should say, on each console brought me a lot of joy, within it. I got the PC in 2012. I wanted Skyrim on the PC, but I did not want to go spend another, at the time, $40, you know, for just the base version again. It just wasn't worth it to me. So is it a crime as a gamer to already own 2 copies of that, to download an ISO file onto your PC, get the mods that you want, and play the game the way you want to?
See, that one, it's like one of those ones, like, I feel like by having the physical copies in your hand, because I don't know if you remember this, you remember getting, like, emulators back in, like, the 90s, because this new time happened, they literally used to have these, like, threatening messages, be like, well, Bill Clinton and, you know, Bill Gates are teaming up to fight you, emulator people. Like, I remember seeing that kind of stuff, because, you know, as a kid, there is that moment where you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to be, like, what's going to happen? Like, this, like, the FBI going to come in and, like, you know, SWAT team's going to kick down your, like, windows, be like, hey, boy, what are you doing with these emulators? Like, we see what's on your Windows 98 here. That's, like, all I can picture. But, like, I feel like if you've already kind of bought the game once, you know what I mean? Like, especially twice, it's like, really?
I feel
you're entitled, I think, almost.
You own that property at that point, you know? Like, once it's out of the publisher's hands, once it's through the retail system, once it's in your hands, I feel like you own that property. Now, moral or not, do you go online and you actually download that file from a source site, you know, and technically you own the physical copy? This is where this is another argument in the game group, is that a lot of people view that as theft. A lot of people view that as stealing, and I can see it. I can see where they're coming from. Should you take that disc and pop it into your PC and rip the ISO file yourself, I don't find a problem with that.
No, it's no different than burning a CD or like ripping a CD to your MP3 player. Yeah,
you're copying. That's all you're doing.
And when it comes to games that are already sort of old, like I'll even say Skyrim, I know they keep releasing like remasters of it, but that game's a generation old by now.
Yeah.
I feel like it's in the emulator ROM category of like it's okay.
The day that Bethesda makes Elder Scrolls 6, whatever the next Elder Scrolls ends up being, will be the day, because they have ported that fucking Skyrim game to literally almost everything. The moment that game drops on the Google Play Store, I think that's the day that Skyrim dies. I finally, like, that was 2011 when that game came out. We have had multiple iterations of it since then.
Yeah.
I am a sucker of that fucking game. Again, PS3, Xbox 360, PC, and just this last year I bought it on Switch. Why?
Did you get it on Switch?
Because I want to fucking play it mobile. And have I played it mobile? No. No. That thing's been fucking docked, and I've been playing it docked. You know, like, that's how good Skyrim is. But how long can you ride that fucking train? How many
times can you re-release the same game over? I guess it comes back to, like, it's like the Nintendo philosophy. You think about it, like, how many times did they release a certain Mario Brothers game or a certain Zelda game, and it always works no matter what, because they kind of space it out just enough and bring it kind of back in there. And I guess that would be the one argument, I guess, is like, well, you could download a ROM of Mario Brothers 3, but Nintendo also does have it for digital sale. But I feel that's different though, like, because the ROM's like, hey, this is for the exact NES one here, and really at the end of the day, like, that's just a ROM that Nintendo sort of created. That's kind of a tough one, but I don't know. ROMs and so on, it's like, I've been coming to the conclusion, like, I'd rather would play a lot of games on emulators than actually on the original console, because they play better. You got the save states. The save states are the best thing ever, especially for like anybody who's older who doesn't want to sit there and for 10 hours and one solid playthrough. You want to split it up and you want to save because you want to take a break or so on like that. Why not? And I've never thought that save states were cheating. Like, some people always go, oh, save states are cheating. I'm like, you still got to put the work in. You know what I mean? Like,
you have to get to that point.
Yeah, and all it does is it just takes away, like, the hassle of, like, being like, oh, I died and now I got to go back 2 or 3 levels or something like that. And the way I always like, like, PC games have had save states since, like, day one. You know what I mean? Like, I've been playing through some of the older Tomb Raider games again. And I got them on Steam or whatever and stuff like that. It's like so much better, because like when I played it last, like on Sega Saturn, like Tomb Raider 1, it was almost the thing. It's like, well, this is cool as a memory, but like, there was no way I would ever play this game again on here, because the stupid save points are so far away and everything like that. But on the PC one, it's like, you just save, you go around the corner, it's like, okay, let's save, let's see what happens here. And if you get mauled by a bear or fall off a cliff, which is not like uncommon in Tomb Raider, who cares? You just reload, but that there, and you keep going, and the game stays fun. You know what I mean? Because really, like, one of the biggest frustrations to me in like a game that gets you, like, and I think this for most people, is just when you get to a game where it's just like you die, and then it's like, it's not that you died, it's that you go, oh, I have to go that far back.
Yep.
And it's like I've already done this. It's literally just like repeating. I just feel like it's wasting my time, and I don't want to waste my time. I want to just enjoy a game. You still get the challenge. The challenge has not changed. It's still there, but it's just not wasting my time with the save states.
Yeah. In literally, quite literally, it was Bethesda games that taught me to be a save scumming fucking type player.
You have your rotating 3 saves.
Yes, yes.
That's what Fallout has always been for me.
Because I do not. There's been multiple times that I've been playing Fallout 3, for example, where I play for X amount of hours or whatever, and have autosaves turned off, just because that's fucking gamer I am. So you play 3 fucking hours, you die, and then you have to go back and play through all that shit again. Now, is it easy enough to turn the autosaves back on? Absolutely. When you can save when you open up every single fucking door and all things like that. Absolutely. And what it broke me up into is, okay, at this certain point, for example, in Fallout 3, when you get to the vault door, before you're actually about to exit, when the game asks you, okay, are you sure about this, your character stats, your, like who you are, your name, your way your character looks, blah, blah, blah. I have so many saves from that point where I just play through the bullshit of whatever, because none of that matters, because by the time you actually hit that door, it's just like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you're not sure? Change all this shit, and I can mold my character how I want that way. There's a couple, especially in Fallout 3, there's a couple, I don't know, NPC quest lines, I guess, that you can fuck up in the beginning right there, but as long as you take a neutral route through that entire section right there, it's like, okay, you got a fresh ground. Yeah. So, I got used to that. Skyrim, basically the same fucking thing, you're out on the, you're riding that carriage down to that first little place and stuff, and Alduin comes in and does this whole dragon breath thing, and everything goes crazy, and you move on through the level and everything. Right there, man, right at character creation screen, save. Right when you get to the end of that whole tutorial, it's just like, oh, here's Skyrim, here's the open world. Safe, and then
well, that's what your point to is getting past that. I remember my buddy, he would do that in Final Fantasy games. He would get he literally has a save point for Final Fantasy VII that's past the first point of Midgar because he just does not want to play that part over again. And I mean, I myself, I still always have a nostalgic feel for that Midgar part. I'm not saying it's the greatest section. Sure. I know it's kind of the getting started. Really, the game takes off the second you finally get out of there. But yeah, just there's something to be said about just getting past these tutorials and so on. God, you want. Speaking of tutorials, oh my god, there's this game called Burning Rangers for Sega Saturn. I've always kind of known about it, but I never played it. And this is a game made by Sonic Team. So clearly, when Sega was not making Sonic the Hedgehog, you remember these time periods where Sega decided not to make Sonic? Sure. Sure. They made this game called Burning Rangers, and it's literally sci-fi anime firefighters. What? I kid you not. That's what it is, and it's a 3D game, so it's it's kind of a big deal at that point for Sega's. That's one of their big 3D ones. Sure. But my god, this tutorial in the game was just it started off, and it literally had a thing that was this game, features talking and so on like that. So make sure you have your speakers on. Literally, this is a period where do you remember sometimes being a kid, being somebody's house and be hey, could you turn the volume off in the game? And it's just no, go fuck yourself. Yeah. I'm not turning off. It's it's literally just Nintendo sounds. It's no, that's the experience right there. Before games had dialogue and all that stuff like that, people used to not think much of the sound. But this game was selling on there, and it was I kid you not, this tutorial was just it was you think tutorials are almost bad today. This one is one of those ones where they're it's a 3D game. I guess we're gonna have to explain how it works to people. You know what I mean? Right. They just came from they literally got a Sega Genesis. And they've jumped right into the Sega Saturn. What are we going to do to break the mold for them? And I mean, this thing told us okay, you go forward. To dodge, you press A right here when you hear the sound, and so on. It's yeah, okay, I got it. And then they would talk. And it was if it was maybe dialogue, you could skip through it, it'd be fine. But when they talk, it was just you had to wait for this lady to tell you how to do stuff. And then, I mean, it was just I don't know. To me, it feels like second nature. Now, granted, once again, this could have been the first 3D game somebody ever played. So maybe they were thinking that hey, this is actually kind of important to let you know. But this is the way I look at it. When I put up Mario 64, it doesn't fucking tell me how to play the game.
No. And tutorials are always a really weird thing for me.
Crash Bandicoot doesn't tell me how to play the game when I boot it up.
No, and the most recent example was that I've personally played has been either Far Cry 5 or God of War, and I'm going to talk about Far Cry 5. It it's a Far Cry game. It's very narrative driven. It's very cinematic. Like you I don't want to give away too much about this game, but essentially you go arrest this cult leader and some shit fucking happens. In that whole cutscene, shit's happening, fucking crazy sparks, AAA game, imagine super, explosions and fucking, just crazy shit's going on. But what that game succeeds at is, if you have never played a Far Cry game, it teaches you the fundamentals of how Far Cry works in today's world, under Ubisoft,
Yeah.
If you're a veteran of the series, it's all very familiar, and you're able to blow through that tutorial section like nothing. But that tutorial section still means something, because there is new features, that the game kind of slow releases to you over the course of this teeny little island that you start out on. And literally in half an hour, 45 minutes, talking to this NPC, running, doing this quest, talking to this NPC, running, doing this quest. Literally within 45 minutes, me being like an experienced Far Cry player, it was just like, bam, here's the open world.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm into Far Cry. But then you get... I talked to my buddy Nick about Monster Hunter World. Again, I haven't personally played that game. I played the beta a little bit, and unfortunately, playing that beta, I was so confused on what the hell I was doing at all.
That's what I mean. I played the demo once on one of the 3DS ones, and I was like, well, this is kind of cool, but I just felt like I was so lost.
You have no fucking idea. Now, he's telling me that the actual full release kind of explains itself a lot better than that beta did. However, when you're 12, 14, 16 hours into that game and it's still tossing tutorial messages at you, that's a bit much, man.
Well, this is what else kind of bothers me too. It's like, now this game's not mature, but when you get a mature rated game, why is there even a tutorial in it? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's like an E-rated game, if it had a tutorial in it, I could almost get that.
Yep.
But I don't know. I really think that if you're gonna put a tutorial in your game, make it optional.
Right.
You know what I mean? Perfect example is Gears of War 1. It asks you right at the beginning. You get out of prison, it's like, what do you want to do? You want to go left to the tutorial, or you want to go right to the action?
Yep.
That's what every game should have.
Yep.
This forceful tutorial, that Burning Rangers one took 15 minutes. I literally thought about turning the game off during that tutorial. I waited it out like a good gamer should. Worst part is I never saved, so I'd probably never play that game again.
Well, I'll tell you. Okay, so 2016 I played Bloodborne for the very first time. Okay. 2011 I had played Dark Souls. Dark Souls kicked my ass so fucking hard that I hated that fucking game. Fuck Dark Souls, right? Bloodborne got me into the Soulsborne series. From there I played Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 1. After the original Dark Souls 1 was completed, and this was right towards the end of 2016, I jumped into Demon Souls, right? And Demon Souls was the PS3, this is the basis, this is the foundation of what Souls is, right? So from going from the most advanced at the time being Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 all the way back down to Demon Souls, I had learned a lot in that entire journey, right? So when I get to this game hands down has absolutely the best tutorial ever, in my personal view, ever. This game explains a little bit to you about what's going on in the world, kind of, slow feeding you, little bits of information, and then all of a sudden it drops you into World 1-1, which is Boletaria.
Yeah.
That level, I can imagine, if I started in Demon Souls, fuck that game. I would not do it. I just wouldn't, I probably would have got my ass kicked so hard that it would have mimicked my original Dark Souls experience. But again, being a seasoned player, knowing the mechanics of these games and everything, now I know how it works. But even still then, I can still recognize what FromSoft did with that level. This is a level of shortcuts and essentially, to give you a scene, it's very medieval, there's this castle and there's large gates and there's huge tall towers and things like that, and it's just ridden with enemies. There's a dragon that comes in the initial cutscene and all this shit. So anyways, you're laying siege against this fucking castle, essentially, is what you're doing, and you work your way, and, like, the very first enemy you run into is, like, just a regular hollow, just regular-ass enemy, he kind of charges at you a little bit and flails around a little bit, and you're starting to learn the basics of combat, The game doesn't tell you shit. It doesn't tell you that R1 is attack, R2 is a heavy attack, circle is your dodge out of the way. It doesn't explain any of that. You kind of figure it out as a player. When a tutorial doesn't hold your hand like that in the start of a game, and when your player base, you look at the trophies in that game, the very first boss has like an 80% completion rate. So like 80% of the players that have started that game or have that game in their console have beaten the first boss. The second boss, World 1-2, the second boss of that has like a 24 or 33, somewhere around that range. Amazing. That's how hard that game kicks your ass. But it's also the game design that is so ballsy that says, I'm not going to hold your fucking hand. You figure this shit out.
And that's what you need, though. You need, like, I like that. You know what's even, like, the worst one, though? Is the games that literally have, like, either they slow down or they pause to tell you, like you'll be running along, you're having a good old time, and then all of a sudden it's like, press X to jump! And it's like, and then they'll show you, like, some, like, half-assed animated picture of your character jumping. It's like, I know what jumping looks like. You don't need to tell me, like... And I don't know what it is. Like, as I said, like, if it was an E-rated game, I can kind of understand a tutorial because you're assuming it's a kid that never has played video games before or something like that, and he's probably halfway retarded. But when it's a mature rated game, I am assuming this person has been playing video games for like 10, 15 years. You know what I mean? I mean, granted, it's always going to be somebody's first game at some point. You know what I mean? Maybe somebody's like, I never got the video games, but I'm going to try this Metal Gear Solid out. You know what I mean? Like, and boom, that's where they start off with. But I don't know, it's like tutorial things, it's one of those ones, and I don't know if it's this weird thing, like, there's this, like, mix, like, there's people out there, it's like, you always, it's almost like that kind of concept of, like, when it goes, like, when you're explaining stuff, like, if you have to explain instructions to somebody, they always say, they don't say it in this word, but they always say, you gotta explain it to you like your audience is pure retarded, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it is, and I think, I don't know if they're taking that video game concept, going, like, we just gotta assume that there's gonna be a bunch of people out there that have no idea what they're doing. Like, they're literally, like, slapping their face as, like, they're starting the game. And they're, running into the wall, and so, like, they just don't get it, And it's kind of like, it's perfect examples, like, a lot of times, too, it's like, sometimes if you know somebody who hasn't played, like, modern video games, it's like, 'cause the biggest modern video game thing is that you almost kind of forget, it's the twin sticks.
Sure.
And that really will it's like, somebody could have played, like, platforming games, like, their entire life, fighting games their entire life, be totally fine. If they've never really played modern games, those twin sticks will get them so quick. It's amazing. I almost take it for granted because it's just like, what I mean? Like, it's second nature to me by now. But all I have to say is, when twin sticks came out, I didn't even use them till about like PS3, Xbox 360 era.
Really?
I literally passed on them unless I had to use joysticks in PS2 and PS1. Pretty much never. It was one of those ones, like, I remember the first twin sticks game I ever had to play was Ape Escape on PlayStation 1. Because you had to use the DualShock controller. There was like one of those ones like that. I want to say the DualShock came out like right beforehand, but this is the first game that you had to have a DualShock to play it. Yeah. And I just remember that being like, it was like tough to get into that. It was like, oh my gosh, you know. And it was just like, and that game was meant to teach you how to use do joysticks, but like. As I said, like, I played PS2 games most of my time on the D-pad. Like, most games I played, like, if I played Devil May Cry, I didn't use the joystick, I used the D-pad. Sure. I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, Metal Gear Solid, well, if you could use I can't remember, could you use the D-pad on Metal Gear Solid? 2 and, probably not 3, but 2?
2, I'm pretty sure, yes. At least the original PS2 release. I'm pretty sure you could.
Because I was going to say, like,
because it was still static camera back then.
Yeah. So. Well, in the original Metal Gear Solid 3 static camera, too. Which is, it's so weird for me to think about that nowadays. Like, I don't know what it is. It's hard for me to imagine, like, oh yeah, the first time I played through Metal Gear Solid 3, you couldn't move the camera around.
Yeah, because I think, so...
Well, it's like semi...
3D camera came out with...
Subsistence,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just like...
Oh, man. I'll never forget that, too, man, because I remember how bullshit it was, or at least my thinking at the time, how bullshit it was that you didn't have a fucking radar. You still had static camera, but you didn't have a fucking radar. But you had the first person view, and that was literally you walk into a new area, you can't see shit, other than what the game's trying to show you. Mm-hmm. You hear enemies walking around, you have to go into first person mode. That made me play that game so cautiously. Nowadays, where I'm able to actually have a 3D space to move my camera around, like, I sprint through that fucking game.
Yeah.
No problem. You know?
Well, the funny thing too about Metal Gear Solid 3 is that, like, it was almost like by not having the radar, the enemies aren't nearly as big of like a deal as they are in 2. Like 2 is a big deal, like, you know what I mean, like, or even worse is 1. 1, the enemy sees you, they just instantly like slap that button down, and the thing goes off. But there's always a way that you can sort of fix it. Like in 1, if you just run out of the room and run back in, everything's back to normal again. Oh, God,
you're fine.
What happened to that guy? Oh, I don't know.
2 had that also.
Well, 2, you like a lot of times you'd have to go through multiple rooms to get there though. Like you couldn't just go through 1. But 2 gave you just a little bit of time. The guy didn't just instantaneously like hit the radar the second he saw you. He had to like run away and then be like, "There's somebody in the building," you know. And in that period, you could like go up and either tackle the guy or something like that, you know, shoot the guy or something.
Like,
and then 3. The upside of that game is like when the alarm went off, all it meant was maybe a couple more guys are gonna come out, but you could just stand there and pick them all off, and then there's like, well,
you toss on your camo and you fucking hide, like
or you hide, or you just commando your way through, or what have you. You know what I mean? Like, it was like each game kind of has its own way of sort of like dealing with it, which I always thought was kind of interesting. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, you just got to figure out the logistics of like how the game works, and then boom, go from there.
And then going even further into 4, you know, where you could have a radar up if you had the right eyepiece or whatever like that.
Yeah.
But what was interesting about that was the, again, 3D space camera that was right from the get-go. But if you remember, you had that little ring around Snake at all times, and it had a little bump to it where there was like enemies coming from or whatever. If you remember that side of it. That was such a weird change-up for me too, you know, like...
Well, it's just funny how they got farther and farther away from the actual radar. Because I remember, like, in 4, it's like, you could use the radar, but they're going to hear it, or whatever, like it was. It's like, well, I guess I'm not using the radar.
Yeah, no.
That was what I first thought. It's like,
and I never really felt like I needed the radar in 4.
But you know what's the weird thing is, like, think about, like, think how much, like, you relied on the radar in 1 and 2. And it's
ridiculous.
Funny, like, the radar was everything. If those, I was thinking about, I mean, you could play Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 without the radar if you put them like the hardest mode. Yeah. But really, what you think about that game is, like, if that game just didn't have radar from the get-go, talk about how difficult that game would be.
Yeah, everybody would fucking hate it.
Yeah, nobody would be playing it because it'd be like the radar almost made up for like the just almost like being able to, you know, just the older technology.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, it was a way simpler game back then. And both Metal Gear, well, literally all of them except for 5, I've played through on like either hard mode or European Extreme or whatever the fuck. Yeah. You know, and that's just the super fan that I am, but I could totally tell that if the game was like that from the get-go for a fresh new player, fuck, dude, it would be Dark Souls level of fucking failure. You know, like
you'd have to learn where every enemy was, and you have to stop, and you have to peek around the corner. And on PlayStation 1, you had to hold triangle to go in that first-person mode that really was only there just to look.
And it's really insane to me that this amount of time has passed, and you know, I played that game in '98 when it came out. Mm-hmm. That was my stepdad at the time. Bought the PlayStation, or sorry, Christmas in '97, my mother bought me the PlayStation, but he kept buying games for himself. He bought Gran Turismo, he bought Siphon Filter, he bought like all these different games, and all of a sudden '98 came around and Metal Gear Solid came. And I'll never forget like seeing that case, that bright white fucking case with red lettering on it, said Metal Gear Solid. No idea what this thing is. But I remember kind of like catching little bits and pieces of it as he was playing it, not really getting it or anything like that. And, I mean, in the actual sense of what Metal Gear is, what's to get. You know, like, I mean, that game's so all over the place, but I love it, you know. Yeah. And then for me, one time, you know, like, this was probably early '99, somewhere around there, I get poisoned up. I can't go to school. I got really bad, you know, my skin's all inflamed and all shit. But that man, you know, was staying at home at the time because he was sick and whatnot. But he was staying home at the time and he was watching me, and I was bored with Crash Bandicoot. I was bored with my motocross game, you know, and like sitting there just kind of rolling my eyes playing this motocross game. And my stepdad came in and he handed me that case. And he says, "You should try this." And I'll never forget just that very first area, man. Like when you come up out of the water,
the elevator,
after being in that very first area and not getting it. You know, there's 2 guards walking around and whatnot, you know, and then the 3rd guard comes down with the elevator and like just not understanding the concept of that game. I'll never forget the first time I walked through a puddle and Snake left a foot trail behind him, and all of a sudden this guard's just like, "Huh? Whose footprints are these?"
Whose footprints are these?
that blew my fucking mind as a kid because I'd never seen anything like that before.
You know what? That's a perfect example. That right there is the tutorial.
Exactly.
That first room is a tutorial, and they don't tell you anything what to do. You know what I mean?
100%.
Because you could almost play in that room. Like as a kid, you could hang out there for like a half an hour to an hour and
Easily.
Play because you got 3 guys. They're walking back and forth. One guy comes down the elevator. There's water. You can jump back into the water and hide.
Yeah.
There's different. You can crawl under things there. I think there's stun grenades or something in that same room.
Yeah.
There's just enough stuff to play with. And then the next room, gives you a little bit bigger room, and then you can pick up the SOCOM and so on.
Yeah.
And now you're starting to be introduced to cameras, and that game just slowly stacks it onto you.
Yes.
And that's almost like, once again, it's like that's how you do it. Like really, your first level in a game should be a tutorial without ever saying it's a tutorial.
It's another thing that I've heard multiple developers in like video documentaries like Vidocs and stuff like that talk about, where they'll build their whole game. They'll have their concept art from the very start, of like what they want their game to be. They build the game based off that, and then they step back at the very end of development and go, we built this entire thing, how do we teach that player?
Yeah.
And they build the tutorial last. I've seen those types of games, and I've also seen it to where it's very obvious that the very first level you played was the start of development. And that start of development, having those tutorial missions at the very start of that game, and that's where they started their game, it's always, generally generally fucking broken. It doesn't teach you enough about the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So it's just little like developmental tricks that are just, I don't know, I find fascinating, of like how these developers actually build games.
Yeah, it's the small way of how to teach somebody how to play the game, but without really having to do it. Like, I don't know, Mega Man X and then, Ego Raptor, he did a nice video where he like breaks it down for like 20 minutes of like why that first level is like the perfect like tutorial without ever teaching anything. It's like, you start off. If you'd never played the game before, you touch the buttons, you go, okay, this one shoots, this one jumps, this one makes me move, okay, there's a wall on the left side, I guess I can't go that way, I'll go right, and you just keep going, and then you see an enemy, and so on. Then you fall down an area, and you go, what the fuck, am I stuck down here? Oh wait, I can wall kick up, but it never says, press B to wall kick, or something like, you know what I mean? It never has to say that. And almost like, another good example of a tutorial that almost is in Super Metroid. There's a part where you fall down this hole, and there's this like, I almost want to say it's like a space ostrich. It's been like a while since I played, but it's like, and the space ostrich is literally, it just has this animation. It runs, it stops, it ducks down, and then it shoots up and jumps. Yep. That is your tutorial. And this thing keeps doing it over and over, and you're like, what the fuck is this thing? I can't shoot it and kill it and eat it, so what the fuck is it? Like, because that's what Metroid's all about. It's like, you just shoot everything known to mankind and just murder thousands of animals over and over. Yeah. But what the game was telling you was like, no, you go back to the far left, you run right, you duck down, you wait a second, and then you press up, and you'll shoot up in the air. And it's just like, that's perfect. Or just even like, so the thing that always makes Super Metroid nice is there's abilities in the game that it never even really explains. You just kind of like can figure them out, like wall kicking and so on like that. But then maybe you don't even notice it till halfway through the game. But the next time you come back around, you can do it right off the bat. And it's like, things like that. And it's just like, that's what I think makes a good game, is when it doesn't have to tell you anything,
See, and this is where I apologize to keep bringing up Dark Souls, but it literally is a perfect fucking example. Dark Souls trains the player in a sense that it's not very forgiving. Mm-hmm. Again, it does not hold your hand. A lot of Dark Souls players don't like to hear this, but like in my personal mind, like that is straight up a trial by error type game. Mm-hmm. You learn from your mistakes. You build off your mistakes. You become stronger because of your mistakes.
Yeah.
The game gives you enough to get you through any type of situation that you might be in. Whether it be, kindling a bonfire to get more Estus flasks, which are your health regens and things like that. You can spend a valuable resource called humanity, where you use this humanity, you kindle a bonfire, instead of having 5 Estus, like 5 healing items or whatever from that bonfire, now all of a sudden you have 10 because you use this valuable resource. On the back end, that same resource, that thing called humanity, you can use that to turn yourself human again if you have died. Turn yourself human again, and all of a sudden that opens up the entirety of the online play. So you can summon players in. Yeah. The downside to that is that when you're in that state, when you summon in players, you're more likely to get invaded by another player. So all of a sudden PvP comes into the factor there. Mm-hmm. This is all shit that the game does not tell you, like, right off the bat. But
Yeah.
once you start figuring these things out, you know, like, the game becomes really fucking good. A boss, for example, the Asylum Demon, at the very start of the original Dark Souls, the Asylum Demon teaches you that this boss has a very set of rules, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
This boss will have 3, 4, maybe 5 attacks, and you need to learn those attacks, and you need to learn where to block, where to dodge, how to counter, you know, like, and basically what essentially the Asylum Demon teaches you is to get behind enemies, get behind bosses, hit them in the back, because they're not going to be able to hit you from there.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that knowledge translates to the entirety of the game. You know, you're fighting a regular hollow or whatever. He winds up for like a really big heavy attack and whatnot. You have ample time to move.
To run around him
and
now.
you can just get behind him. And all of a sudden, he throws that attack down, and he's just going to attack where he's going to attack. Now you're behind him. You tap R1, you get a backstab in.
Yeah, the game has taught you how to fight this creature
through its gameplay,
just by paying attention and kind of like the trial by error. Which that reminds me kind of like that's almost like how the old Alone in the Dark games are.
Sure.
Because the old Alone in the Dark games just don't give you any rhyme or reason like why things happen. You know, you just be walking along. Oh, the floor falls out. You're dead.
Yep.
And it's just like at least that game has got save states,
yeah.
so that makes it not like you can just save anywhere you want.
Yeah.
And so on. Well, then see that's what I mean. Like PC games, it goes back. Like, dude, PC games had save states since like the '80s.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, come on, like.
See, I don't. Dark Souls has, speaking strictly Dark Souls, like the original Dark Souls, there's a few moments where it breaks its own rules. One of which being, you run into this boss called Seath. Seath the Scaleless. He's this giant fucking dragon that sits atop this like high tower or whatever, and he is like made friends with Gwyn, which is like the Lord of Cinders, and blah 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 blah. Anyways, point being, when you get to Seath's place, when you get to the Duke's Archives, you climb this massive fucking tower and stuff, and Dark Souls has been teaching you the entire time to take it slow, shield up inch by inch.
Yeah.
Is basically your first playthrough, because you have no fucking idea what's around that corner.
Yeah.
You have no goddamn idea. But you know that the consequence for death means that you have to go all the way back to the bonfire, and you have one chance to get back to that spot.
Now, is it Dark Souls? Are those bonfires like few and far between?
The original Dark Souls, yes.
Okay.
Dark Souls 2 is very much clack, 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 clack. There's 1,000 fucking bonfires.
Yeah.
Bloodborne kind of went back to that original Dark Souls sense where you do have long stretches of play, before you get to the next checkpoint. Dark Souls 3, unfortunately, went right back to that sense with just bonfire after bonfire after bonfire. There's like 2 or 3 places in Dark Souls 3 where you can stand at a bonfire and literally see the next bonfire. That's fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
Anyways, but that original Dark Souls, man, just like, I don't know, man, like, the remaster's coming out. And I know I've been trying to like tell you for like years now to play this fucking game, but now that the remaster's coming out, now that it's gonna be like actually updated and looking good and running good, fucking try that game, dude. Just as an old school gamer, like please at least try it. Mm-hmm. It'll cost you $40 out the gate,
Well, the cool thing you get for Switch too.
Like just try it. Because I think that you're going to appreciate it so much more than the average gamer because of these things, because of these self-reliance things.
Yeah.
And it brings such a amount of, I don't know really how to explain it, like self-gratification that you have accomplished what seemingly was the impossible. Mm-hmm. Again, I've never really felt any kind of accomplishment like that in a video game before.
Yeah.
When you were beating your head against a boss for so long and then all of a sudden try a new strategy or think of a new strategy, instead of dodging right here, maybe I should block.
Yeah.
Instead of blocking right here, maybe I should parry. Instead of parrying right here, maybe I should back off and heal. Mm-hmm. There's so many different ways to play that game. There's so much build variety. There's so many different armor sets and weapon sets and like just almost like virtually endless possibilities within this game world.
Yeah.
But the core of that game, what I keep coming back to, is that the game has set rules. Mm-hmm. Within those set rules, the game has to act like that. So what your rules are as the player within that world, the game is acting exactly the same way. Again, there's a couple of spots where it breaks that. And what I was trying to get to is with Seath the Scaleless, this giant dragon thing at the top of this mountain.
Mm-hmm.
You get up to the very top of that, the game has an item right there. And there's like these big glowy white fucking aura things, you know, and that tells the player that there's something there to go interact with. So you pick up this item, all of a sudden you get this ring called the Ring of Sacrifice. The Ring of Sacrifice states that upon wearing this ring, you know, you put this ring on, upon death you're not going to lose any of your souls. That's a huge thing in Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Is that if you die, you lose your fucking souls.
Yeah,
You have one chance to get back there to reclaim those souls. So the game is telling you right then and there, even though the standard gamer isn't going to view it as this, the game is telling you right there, put this fucking ring on.
Yeah.
Because you're about to lose your souls. I didn't know that the first time I went through. I read that item description, I was like, okay, cool, I guess I'll use that at some point.
Your natural thing is like, if I use it, it's gonna disappear. Like it's like a one-time use item or something.
Exactly. So I walked through that fucking fog gate, you know, which is like the boss wall essentially. You know, like I walked through this fog gate, instant death. The game fucking kills you.
Yeah.
And it teaches you that, okay, an item description, I actually have to fucking read shit. I actually have to pay attention to what these things mean. I have to piece together the lore that way. I have to, you know, like there's so much about that game where if I didn't read anything, I would have no fucking idea what's going on in Dark Souls.
Yeah, you can't just willy-nilly run through it just hoping to figure out what's going on next.
So again, that's kind of a cheap move I personally feel about that the game kind of hands you something, but it's not really signposted so well, and then kills you right off the bat, and then you don't have a chance to go get those souls again because you spawn somewhere else because of that.
Yeah, so that's a little bit cheap. I mean, like, granted, it did give you an item, but at the same time,
it gave you an opportunity.
But, you know, it's like, a lot of times, like, you know, a lot of items in games, like, you know, and sometimes you hold on to them at the very end of the game because it's like, it feels like it's a one-time use thing, and the next thing you know, it's at the end of the game, you're like, should've used that item. Yep. I don't know how many games like that, like...
How many fucking times, man? Like, I'm playing Skyrim, for example, and it's just like, you pick up a sweet-ass potion that makes you run fucking 500 times speed or whatever, you know, like... Are you going to use that right now? No. You know, I'm going to hang on to that fucker for later because I know I'm going to use it at some point, and then you're 500 hours in and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot I had this.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Well, it's like, I always think of that like in Resident Evil. It's like, I've always done the thing where you conserve your ammo, and then next thing you know, you get towards the game and you're like, shit, I got a lot of fucking ammo. Yeah. And then you realize you don't have enough enemies left in the game to use, not even like a quarter of it on, you know what I mean? Like, I've done that so many times where it's like, I end the game and it's like, you still have like 24 Magnum rounds left. You're like, that is such, like, sure. And I've kind of learned that, like, no, the thing to do is, like, you conserve your ammo right off the bat in Resident Evil, but once you kind of get about 20% in the game, who cares? Just start using it, because you're going to get so much ammo, unless you're playing on, like, the hardest mode ever. You know, if you're just playing on the normal mode, you're going to get so much ammo that might as well just start using it, because next thing you know, you're going to get to the end of the game, you're going to have, like, 50 shotgun shots and, like, 38, like, Magnum rounds and so on. And you didn't use any of it because you conserved it, and you go to using the boss, you shoot the boss 6 times or something like that, and he's dead, and now you have all this extra ammo that you could have just been blowing zombies' heads off with left and right.
And that was a big revelation for me within Halo, is that Halo, you pick up the sniper rifle, you pick up the rocket launcher, you pick up the fucking brute, you know, cannon thing or whatever. These are like power weapons within the game, you know, these are like really fucking powerful weapons. A big revelation for me is, and this is campaign is what I'm talking about, use them when you fucking pick them up. Yeah. They're placed there for a fucking reason. Use them. And you're not going to gain anything by hanging on to that rocket launcher with 2 fucking rockets in it until the end of the mission. More often than not, you're going to finish that mission and still have the 2 fucking rockets left over, and then you go to the next mission and it's gone anyways.
Yeah, I've learned that in kind of modern shit, because I think it's before, in the olden days, you just keep picking up guns, and there was no such thing as like, you know, you can only carry 2 guns, and Halo being like, oh shit, you can only carry 2 guns. And I've just kind of learned, because I've accepted, like, in Halo, I'll use any gun that I find. I am not biased. I used to be biased back then. You said those things where like, oh, I don't want to use these dirty alien guns. Yeah. Like, give me a machine gun or something. Pistol, you know, but now it's like, fuck, I'll pick up the plasma pistol, I'll blast my weapon, and I'll toss that over, and I'll pick up a needler, because that's like my favorite ones, and I'll keep blasting it. And I'll just pick up anything and everything. I like them all in Halo. I'll take any gun and every gun. And there's something to be said about kind of that. I almost feel like the gameplay is almost a little bit better, like when you're switching around your guns, instead of just kind of...
Well, you're bearing up your tactics.
Yeah, well, it's like, it's easy to get the point where it's like, oh, I'm just going to use the assault rifle, and I'm going to use the sniper rifle, and that's going to be my two main guns, Or like in Gears of War, you get kind of stuck with that lancer.
Sure.
It's like, well, I've got a chainsaw, and I don't want to
Yeah.
lose a chainsaw now. What if somebody else comes up with a chainsaw? What am I going to do? Hit them?
Yeah,
What I mean? But like even in that one too, it's like sometimes kind of fun just to toss the gun to the side and just go, whatever, I'll pick up any gun. It doesn't make a difference. Like, granted, you still kind of, it's always good to kind of have the Lancer more. The Lancer is a little bit better than all the other things in a sense. It's like, it's kind of like just...
It boils down, like, take a step further into Halo 2, man, when you get dual wielding,
And that's like, why is that dual wielding not brought back in the Halo? Like,
why
did they get rid of it? They got rid of it for like 3 games ago too. It's like,
I don't know.
I think the last game they had was Halo 3. It's not in Reach. It's not in 4, and it's not in 5.
Because how badass did you feel when, even like with quote unquote shit tier weapons, you have 2 plasma pistols in your hand.
Bam, 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 bam. Charge those bad boys up.
Dude, dual charge and a fucking melee to an elite. That elite's done. Doesn't matter what color it is. It could be fucking gold, could be black for all you care. Like 2 charged fucking pistol shots like that and a melee attack, done.
Yeah.
Easy.
That's what I like about the new Wolfenstein games, because I felt like that sort of brought back the double weapons. Because really, double weapons was like, it was a big deal. Every first-person shooter had double weapons.
Yeah.
In the 90s, Duke Nukem had it, Doom had it, GoldenEye had it. Everybody had it, Perfect Dark and so on. And then all of a sudden, Turok had it.
Yeah.
I think maybe Turok didn't have it actually, now that I think about it. But everything else pretty much had it. So it's like, to take that away, and it was gone for like so long. Like, nobody was using double weapons anymore. And it's like, why? It's like, that's cool. What I mean? Like, I think one is like, well, in the military, nobody's going to run around with 2 pistols or, or like something like that. It's like...
It's a video game.
Yeah, it's like,
come on.
Okay, in Rainbow Six, maybe I don't need to be running around with 2 fucking rocket launchers.
Sure.
Or maybe I do, I don't know.
Sure.
What I mean? There's a time and a place for it, but it's like, come on, Halo, it's in space. We're fucking Marines in space kicking ass. Like, you know what I mean? Fighting space terrorists.
Super soldier fighting a fucking Covenant armada. Like,
give me double pistols. Give me double, like, whatever I want to carry. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about Wolfenstein. They brought that back and just said, fuck it, we can do it.
So, speaking on the Halo fucking topic, so here we are in 2018. Halo 5 came out in, 15, 16, something like that?
Yeah, nobody's talked about it. I've been waiting for Halo 6 this whole time.
Where is it?
Well, this is the thing I thought was kind of dumb. Is like when they were, this goes back a while, but like when they released the Xbox Pro or Xbox Elite or what do they call it again? Xbox.
So there's Xbox One, Xbox
Not the
One
S,
and Xbox One X.
Yeah, X. There you go. That's what it's called. But when they released that, it was so dumb that like that thing came out and they actually didn't have a game to go with it. Like in a sense, it was like that would have been the most opportune time to either have one of 2 things: Gears of War 5 or Halo, 6. Like, and Halo 6 would have been the more like appropriate one because Gears of War came out, I guess, not too much longer, but that's still been a while too. That's been like almost over 2 years at least, I think. I think because that game came out like not last spring, but the spring before. I want to say so that one's almost due to come out, and it's just one of those ones that's just kind of like you got a new halfway system, but you got nothing new to play on other than old games.
They dropped PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Granted. It's a big deal on a console.
But you can get that like on a PlayStation, can't you?
No. The only thing you can get it on is PC.
Oh, okay.
And I bought it last March, like whenever it came out, and I bought PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and I played the fuck out of it for majority of last year. And then all of a sudden you get Xbox One X is coming out in September of last year, and their flagship fucking product for this brand new console that's touting 4K 60 frames, crazy specs on it, blah blah blah, is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And it's like, okay, like I can see the appeal of that, but this game's still in fucking alpha or in beta, alpha beta stage right now. That's your flagship product. And then the next 2 Microsoft exclusives was Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves.
And that was such like I was excited when I read about them. Like, this sounds awesome. And then I literally saw a trailer of it, and I was all, oh, well, that didn't look nearly as cool as I thought it was.
Apparently, it's fucking shit. Like, apparently there is no content in that game.
And the sad part is it's a Rare game, so you kind of want to hope for the best. Sure. I mean, I know Rare's not like it all. Like, there's probably nobody. Yeah. It's like 3 times over, like completely different people. But you want to hope for the best. But I just remember kind of looking at it, and it just kind of. I was just like,
well, it's apparently it's a totally social experience type game.
yeah.
It's a pseudo MMO.
When I heard that, it was everything I don't like in a video game. So
Yeah.
I was like, it was just totally the pirate part was appealing to me with the rare aspect, and then all of a sudden I was like,
yeah. And everything that I've seen on it, the game is fucking gorgeous. The people that actually like it really fucking like it.
I mean,
but at the same
like
time,
anything, you can get into it. It's probably
when a majority of the reviewers, like the respectful reviewers that I actually pay attention to and whatnot, I'm not talking your IGN, I'm not talking your GameSpot, you know,
crappy
like,
guys.
These are like, you know, people that get money through Patreon that don't have to do ad revenue and, you know, get paid to make these reviews. When they're saying, you know, there's nothing to this game. There's no content. There is nothing. Now, granted, their roadmap looks great. You know, like, from launch to, like, the end of this year, the roadmap for Sea of Thieves looks awesome. You know, because there is all this extra content coming out, but why release when you did? Why? You know, if you're going to make a bare-bones fucking game, make it free-to-play.
Yeah.
Why charge people $60 for something that's not ready?
Yeah.
Or charge like a reduced rate for early adopters like Steam does, you know, where you pay $15.
Well, and there's a lot of games on Xbox One that have that. They literally have like a disclaimer that says, yo, this game's not done yet, so it's your fault for paying $30.
Yeah. And let the gamer make that decision to where if they know up front that the game is not finished, but there is going to be progress on it. Yeah. Let them make that decision. Don't charge somebody fucking $60
when it comes from
that.
Microsoft and Rare, that's bad, I feel. You know what I mean?
Extremely bad.
Microsoft and Rare should never. They should be 100% done. They should be 120% done by the time.
Easily.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no excuse. It's like Nintendo like half-assing a game or Sony half-assing a game. I mean, you don't half-ass your own games. Yeah. You know what I mean? You let... You know, a small company might half-ass their own game, but you know, the biggest company like that, it's making the system. It's just kind of bummer because it's like one's like I got the Xbox One, and it's like I always want to get something for it, and I really haven't. The last big deal game I got was Gears of War 4. Yeah, there hasn't been anything else since then, really. You know, I mean, I buy a token game here and there on there that like mainly just to save room, either on my PS4 or something like that. But, I mean, the only other game that I played, this game probably came out before, but I played it a little bit later, was that Recore game was fucking sick. Yeah. And I didn't finish it yet, but that was totally awesome. And the cool thing about it is it's made by the guy who did Metroid Trilogy, or the Prime Trilogy. Mm-hmm. They worked on that section. So it's this game on Xbox One that's exclusive, but it's like, it feels like you're playing a Nintendo game. Like, that game felt like it should have been on the Switch almost. Like, that's what it was. But I thought that was awesome. I really dug that game. To me, that was my type of game.
Well, and this is where...
Sadly, I think Xbox was like the worst place for that game to come out for because I just don't think the Xbox audience could understand what that game was about. Yeah. It was too Nintendo with an Xbox like almost like overlay. Like that makes
Xbox
sense.
Title
it looks like because it plays like a Nintendo game, like it. You know what I mean? Like because it's you know like that, but it has like the look of like an Xbox. Sure. If that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it looks like it could be like an offshoot in the Halo universe, yet it plays like a Nintendo game. It's a weird thing, but I thought it was awesome.
So this is where I've been extremely observant, and again, like starting that game group on Facebook like 6 fucking years ago, I've been very observant of, you know, you got your Nintendo guys, you got your PlayStation guys, you got your Xbox guys, and you got your PC guys, and then you got your random mobile guys and, you know, board game guys and shit like that.
They don't really count.
But those primary 4, you know, 6 years ago when I started that fucking thing, you know, like Xbox was on fire, man. This was like the end of the 360 age, you know. And yes, Xbox 360 had, I mean, look at my fucking library right there, you know? Like I have like 60 fucking games sitting right there.
Yeah, it was a great system.
But then all of a sudden, you know, Sony stepped in and fixed all their problems from the PS3 age. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden now Sony's starting to get all the exclusives. Sony's starting to get this. Sony's starting to get that. The console specs anymore are so similar in nature that you really can't tell anymore. At least in terms of like when you have a PS4 image and an Xbox One image playing side by side the exact same thing. You really can't tell that much, I should say. But the problem now is that the Xbox fans are so heavy into their fandomism that the Xbox One X comes out and they are fighting it so hard against like all the the Sony guys because, you know, the Sony guys are saying, well, you know, I get to play Horizon. I get to play The Last of Us. I get to play Uncharted. I get to play God of War. You know, like I get to play Bloodborne. They're speaking of like these extreme, you know, exclusive IP titles that are genre defining.
Yeah.
Now the Xbox players with the X that just came out this last year are like, well, now we have a more powerful console. And it's like, okay, well, what do you have?
Yeah.
And they always revert to third-party games. They always say, like, well, I can play Far Cry 5 at 4K and 60 frames. I can play Ghost Recon Wildlands at 4K 60 frames. I can play, you know, on and on and on. And it's like, is that technology boost really worth it? The $499 that the Xbox One X is it really worth it to be able to play third-party games at a higher fidelity?
Yeah, to me, it's one of those that's kind of good. I mean, if I had all the money in the world, I would buy one of those Xboxes.
Absolutely.
Fuck it, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? And I'm one of those people like, I feel like, though I feel like I got fanboyism to all the systems, like, I'm one of those people, I believe in like I always call it like, I believe in the I gotta catch them all kind of thing.
Sure.
I want an Xbox, I want a PlayStation, I want a Nintendo, I want a Sega, I want an Atari, I want a PC. I want every single one of them. Because the thing is, I go for the exclusives. That's my favorite thing about systems is the exclusives. That's what separates them from all the same. You know, third-party games, you can get them on anything, whatever, and so on. Like, I like to kind of have them all, you know. But what kind of bums me out just about the Xbox is it's like, I want to like it more than it really is. I really want to enjoy. Maybe it's just because I have, like, you know, Xbox Original, that's a system that people almost forget how good that original Xbox was.
Amazing.
That system has so many, like, lost exclusives. And it's really like people don't talk about very often.
Yeah.
And that's never brought up online too often. You know, every once in a while you'll see somebody talk about it, but for the most part, it's not revered like PS2 is or GameCube. It's kind of like forgotten. Though at the time when it came out, that was like the thing that was almost like, it was a big deal. But as time was kind of going on, it's kind of gotten forgotten and so on. But it's like with the Xbox One, I just want them. Because I mean, like, here's the thing. Gears of War 4, I'll say this, I like it more than any PlayStation exclusive there is. Gears of War 4, I personally like it more than any of them out there. It's just, but I mean, Gears of War is like one of my favorite series. So, granted, there's a little bit more biasness there, but like that. But the thing is, it's like, okay, that's amazing. The Halo Master Chief Collection is one of those things that is super cool. It's like, it's almost like the SNES Classic of like Xbox. You know what I mean?
The Master Chief Collection is literally the reason why I almost hung on to that Xbox
It's
One.
just so sick, and it's like it's one of the last things that, like, granted these are older games, but like that Halo 2 one looks better than like almost anybody else's game.
Still to this day, I mean, the only one that might rival it in terms of like a proper remake, Shadow of the Colossus this year. Easily the only
And that's like
one.
that's like 2000. They're both like 2005, I think, those games.
Yeah, and to watch Halo 2, like one of the most dear fucking first-person shooters to me personally, you know, like, I think I like Halo 3 a little bit more in terms of the multiplayer sense, but like in terms of Halo was so fucking incredible that when Halo 2 dropped, it was Christmas, dude. It was at this house, 2005. My mom bought me an Xbox and Halo 2.
Here you go. Here's Halo 5. And
I went to the future.
Too bad when she went to the future, she got me the game, but she didn't get me the right system.
But I was blown away, dude, because I had this little 20-inch CRT TV that I bought for myself, Magnavox. Awesome. It had the S cord in the back and all that shit.
Styling.
Dude, I plugged that Xbox One in, Xbox in. Xbox Original, whatever you want to call it.
I know. It's so weird because I called it Xbox One for the longest time.
That title bugs the fuck
out. That was stupid.
But it's beyond the point.
Yeah.
I plug that fucking game in, and I play on that TV in S-Video. Halo 2 blew my fucking mind because I thought I knew what Halo was until I played Halo 2.
Yeah, it's so good.
And the multiplayer was on point, and just like, and that's what's so upsetting about Halo 5. The whole reason why I bought an Xbox One was to play Halo 5 because I'm such a Halo fan. Yeah. And for me to play that, you know, buy the Xbox One, play through Halo 5 in its entirety, play the multiplayer to an extent, you know, like as much as I could handle of that. To watch Call of Duty overtake that game's design, to watch no split screen multiplayer.
That was what really ruined it for me. The no split screen.
Playing as Locke was fine. Okay, like I get it, but there were so many missed opportunities. So many. Why is the scene where Locke finally catches up to Master Chief? Why is that not playable? Why is that a cutscene?
It should be like you fight and then it cuts to that cutscene.
Even if the fight didn't exist, like if Locke met up with Chief and it was strictly just QTE events,
that'd be fine.
That would have made my fucking day.
Yeah.
Because you have been playing as Chief for so long at this point. You're talking like a decade.
Yeah, pretty much.
Plus, by the time you actually get to Halo 5.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
You've been playing as Chief for so long that for the veteran player, you know, like cast these new players aside for a second. For the veteran player that's been playing Halo since the very beginning, why not allow, if you're gonna force us into the shoes of somebody else that's hunting Chief down, why not allow us to try to face the person that we've been personally playing as for all these years?
Exactly.
That was such a huge missed opportunity, and literally at that moment, and granted there's a lot more game past that, at that moment I said, fuck Halo 5. and it's a shame, because like I like the aesthetic of that game.
The game plays
design,
really smooth.
Like everything about that game plays so amazingly.
And I think that this is what bums me out about it. Like, you know, I mean, like, granted, that campaign, like, I will say, like, I never really like it it goes with almost any series, but, like, the Halo has done it multiple times that, like, no, I want to play as Master Chief. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not going to pick up a Tomb Raider game and not play as Lara Croft. Sure. You know what I mean? That'd be stupid. Sure. You know, and I always think it's kind of dumb when we're not playing as Master Chief. Now, it's different in Halo 2 because now you're seeing both sides of the story, so I get that.
Well, the Arbiter thing, man, that was...
But, and then, like, Halo 3, I like how they just bring that together there, and Halo 4, I'll play as like that. And I mean, like, granted, Halo Reach, you're not supposed to be, like, that's a side story. I get that one. But that's something about Halo 5, it's like, no, I don't want, like, have that guy hunt me down, but let me be Master Chief the whole time. I just wish you were Master Chief the whole time. Sure. But what really bums me more than anything else is not being able to play that with a friend. Like, I got a new Halo game, and I can't play it with a friend. Yep. And if I have 4 friends over, we can't play it together. Like, that to me is such a bummer. I always tell people this. I'm like, that is literally like Nintendo coming out with the next Smash Brothers and saying, like, nope, it's single player or online only. There's no couch play. Yep. And some people go, oh, it's not the same. I'm like, dude, it's the same thing. When you think, what's the 2 biggest multiplayer games of all time? Yeah. Halo and Smash Brothers. Yeah. Like, literally, like, think about it. Like, I don't care who you are, like, that's it, you know, maybe the closest thing to like that, but it's like, I don't feel it has nearly as much of the longevity as Mario Party or something like that. But for the most part, those are the biggest, like, if you're going to have 4 players over, those games are the ones you pop in, you know what I mean, more than any other game. And the thing is, too, is like, you get Master Chief Collection, so amazing. You can play all those games. You can go back and forth between maps from 1, 2, 3, and 4, and even ODST and so on. Or I guess those are just the 3 ones. You can go back and forth. You can play split-screen campaign through all the games. They all look beautiful. I mean, Halo 2 just blows your mind, but Halo 1 looks amazing on there. Halo 3 and 4 look great on there. You can play it all. That right there is one of the coolest packages of all time. If they just really put Reach in there, they could have just really topped it off, but you could download it, I guess, and have it be that way. But still, so amazing. And then for the fact that Halo 5 to come out and it plays amazing, I mean, the story's like not like is up to par, but the gameplay wise, it plays awesome. And then they even got the, like, I will say, like, the one thing I do like in the online multiplayer, and like for somebody who doesn't play online multiplayer, those like every once in a while when Xbox is like, here, have a free trial, or here, $1 for like a month, is they got that one called Warzone. And that mode, I mean, it's really more just like let's rip off Titanfall, but like that mode is actually kind of fun in there. Like, I actually like that one, because it's just kind of like you jump in, it's just like, you can do whatever you want. Like, oh, do I want to go kind of play capture the flag on, or not really capture the flag, but like capture the base? Cool. Do I want to just go shoot computer players and get points? Yep. Cool. Do I want to go shoot other players and do that? Cool. Do I want to go drive a vehicle around just for the fuck of it? Cool. It lets you kind of do almost anything you want in one ginormous multiplayer battle. I'm like, that's kind of cool. Yeah. But you know what would have been amazing? Being able to play off a buddy. Split screen it up. Just like, you know, at least Gears of War, you got split screen co-op and you got split screen multiplayer. I mean, you don't have 4 players, but Gears of War's never had 4-player multiplayer.
So what bugs me the worst about that entirety of that thing is that it was brought to the media that the reason why split screen multiplayer doesn't exist in Halo 5 is because the hardware can't handle it, and they wanted to maintain the 900p.
And that to me is like, that is fucking bullshit, because the N64 has 4 players. An N64 has 4 players. Yeah. Shit, a Super Nintendo has split screen multiplayer. Yep. What is your fucking like that to me? It's like it's always been expected that the frame rate's going to drop when you split the screen. Yeah. Like who are these people that don't expect that? I mean, like I know
even then you know they like Microsoft with Halo 5 was wanting that 1080p 30 frame so bad, and they couldn't even achieve that. They got 900p and 30 frame single player. Okay, I get it. The console isn't that powerful or whatever, you know, but still, reduce that down like the old games did, where you get like 2 inches of black line on either side. It reduces down to 720p, and you get split screen. Why is that not a thing?
Yeah, or why Halo 1 and 2 didn't even do they just have it like it just stretches or doesn't stretch, but it fits the screen.
Why still to this day the Xbox One X, the quote unquote most powerful console in the world? Why is there not a patch for that?
I know that's what I thought too. It's like that would have been the most perfect time to release like the Legendary Edition of Halo 5 or whatever.
Now
and be like because I'll kid you not, if Halo 5 came out, if it was $60, but they're like it's got split screen in it, I would buy it. I would literally go out and buy that game all over again for another $60 just for split screen. That's how much split screen would mean to me, is being able to have that. I mean, hell, they got fucking Hyrule Warriors coming out on Switch, and it's got split screen in it.
Yep.
Though I've spent like over $120 on that game because I got it on 3DS and Wii U, almost just to have nice split screen would almost be worth buying it just for that reason alone. Because the only thing is the Wii U's got the dumb the Wii U they did some goofy split screening stuff on there where like one person has to use the Wii U controller and the other person gets like the 56-inch TV. Yeah. It's like, and player one's the one that's going to get fucked over. Not the guy who spent all the money on this stuff so that your friends can have a good time. He gets like the shaft of everything, but like just that. But like I would literally go out and rebuy Halo. If you just said like that and you had 4-player multiplayer and everything like that, you sold me right there. Because that to me, like when I think of like having 4 friends over, like Halo is like one of the most definitive games of that. You know what I mean? Like, I always love to play some GoldenEye, and I know it's hard to find people nowadays to play it, but like, Halo, GoldenEye, Smash Brothers, Mario Party, Mario Kart, come on, like, that's like what is. It's like, that's like Mario Kart coming out and being like, we don't have split screen. Yeah. It's no different, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, the perfect example is like, every racing game nowadays doesn't even have split screen anymore. Yeah. And that's what bothers me, is like, there's so many games nowadays that I think would be so cool to play with a friend, and you just can't do it, you know what I mean? You have to either play online, and like a lot of systems don't even have the LAN mode anymore too, and it's like, because that was always kind of like, that's the expensive way of doing split screen, and don't get me wrong, like the experience is better, like, you know, if you could afford just to have like 2 nice TVs and back them up against each other and just buy 2 Xboxes and hook them up together and just buy 2 copies of every game, and it wasn't like, you know, you didn't even bat an eye at the price, like that would have been the awesome way to do everything, you know, just fight your buddies over, like, here we go, boom, let's just pop in some games and go for it.
We used to do that with fucking, like, StarCraft, you know, like, hooking up a fucking LAN party for, you know, PC night or whatever.
Hell, me and RJ, we used to do that when we play, like, Resident Evil and stuff like that. That was like one of the cool experiences. Like, dude, we're plugging in Resident Evil 5 together, we could sit right next to each other and so on, but, like, nobody wants to sit next to each other anymore. Nobody wants to make multiplayer games.
And I'm more in the sense where I get that mentality. I understand where we're at technologically right now, and I understand that the online play is you know,
it's the seller.
Easily like the easiest way to play with people nowadays.
Yeah.
But I have multiple, you know, games that still have couch co-op, and like tomorrow, you know, like Matt's birthday's today. Tomorrow I'm gonna go hang out with him all day tomorrow. I have this stupid fucking physics-based brawler game called Gang Beasts.
Is that the one where you check people off buildings?
Yeah. You just literally just beat the living shit out of each other. It has no rhyme or reason to anything. You're just flailing your fucking arms around and stuff. There's a little bit of strategy to it, but it's not very much. You know, it's very coincidental.
Like it's like chaotic,
random type game, but it's hilarious. You know, that game, when I first found out about it, I went to a random party, you know, over here in Sonora, and I come home and I'm like, I need to look this game up. I need to see what it is. It's $20. I know that I'm not going to play it every fucking day, but I know that for the times that my buddies come over and whatnot, you know, we're going to be able to sit down, beat the shit out of each other, and have some fun, you know? Yeah. And it happened that same weekend, you know? My band came over here, you know, and, like, we're set up in the living room out there, and, like...
Pull the game out?
All 4 of us were sitting there, and we're playing this fucking game, dude, and it was just, like, it was too much fun.
And plus, PlayStation always needs bullet, because the PlayStation, like, to me... This sounds so weird. Like, I don't expect to actually split screen as much in PlayStation as I do Xbox. Xbox has always come across to me as like that system like was always designed.
Yeah.
When Xbox original came out, it was designed for 4 players in mind.
Yeah.
Where PlayStation's always kind of been like, yeah, if you want, there's some games and you got to get the multi-tap and you know what I mean. Like PlayStation just always felt like a single player system, no matter what. Even 2-player games are kind of weird on PlayStation.
Yeah.
So Xbox just not like, and it's like, okay, yeah, there's some indie ones like, you know, guys like that, they're making games like that, but it's like, that shouldn't be if those are the guys doing it, that shouldn't be the only people doing it. Like,
Oh, I know.
you know what I mean? Like, if they can do it, like, they don't even have to, you know what I mean? That's them working a little bit extra.
Yeah.
Like, really, at the end of the day, how hard is it for a major company to slap in, like, some multiplayer? You know what I mean? Like, you literally, I don't care, you can do the old school Halo 1 thing, there's 2 Master Chiefs running around, I am fine with that. Just carbon copy them.
Yeah.
I don't
Break
need you to make a story
bit,
out of like why these 2 guys are together and so on.
No, there doesn't need to be, because like this is the other one that in recent news that has really fucking bugged me, in that PC culture, you know, is America right now.
Mm-hmm.
That I've read multiple articles in regards to Far Cry 5.
Mm-hmm. People
are complaining that there is too many African Americans in that game, in fictional Montana, in fictional, you know, Christian cult, you know, type, you know, stereotypes and things. That shit is leaking into our video games now, and when a game developer or publisher is not able to confidently release something, regardless of what the image is, you have to look at games as art. You have to.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of controversial shit that'll pop up in terms of video game violence and you know what the media portrays on that. It just happened with the president, you know, like talking with all these major game developers about video game violence and what it's doing to our youth.
And people, it's like that at the end of the day, everybody wants to blame everything but the actual issue. They always want to they want to blame the video games, they want to blame the movies, they want to actually blame the guns, and it has nothing to do with the guns.
It's amazing to me because games are almost getting more and more strategically censored because of this. Far Cry 5 is a phenomenal game.
Mm-hmm.
It is easily the best Far Cry game that's come out so far. It's the most refined. If you know Far Cry, you can pick up Far Cry 5 with little to no problems, right?
What if my only knowledge of Far Cry comes from Far Cry 1?
So, that being developed by Crytek, a bit different than what Ubisoft's done. But essentially, it's the same fucking thing. It's an open world sandbox. You know, like that's what it is. But the problem with that game, and again, I don't want to get into like, you know, for your listeners and whatnot, I don't want to get into like too much like spoiler territory or anything. But the game skirts around these major issues, and the game deals with cults and religion and politics and gun control and gun violence and like all this shit that is happening to be going on in our world right here. I don't think the game's about that per se, but it definitely touches on some of those issues. Mm-hmm. And the fact that it's in, you know, rural Montana, the fact that it's part of our world now, you know, I could jump into Far Cry 4 and go to the Himalayas out in the middle of Asia somewhere, and
nobody has any reference for like
blow
what
everybody away, and that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Far Cry 3, I can go to like the South Pacific, you know, and blow everybody away and fucking, you know, kill a million people, and it's not going to affect me at all. But now all of a sudden that it's like in our backyard, people are having all these fucking problems with it. And what's so upsetting is that you can obviously tell from that developer that they had to hold back some shit within their narrative, because the game deals with these heavy issues but skirts around them so hard.
It's because those politically correct people just really fuck things up.
All the time.
They just destroy just so much. Like they don't allow comedians to say certain things. They don't allow video games to portray things. They don't want movies to do things. They really, and this is the worst part about it, like at heart, like they believe they're doing something good.
Sure.
But those people, a lot of times, people that jack things up like way more than they do. Like so many of those like issues, like, you know, and they'll use headlines and they'll use their tactics and they'll use all that kind of stuff to like get people on their side. But really, they're just jacking things up, mainly just to make themselves feel happy and so on. It's just like, no, just let things happen. You know what I mean? Like the world's not a perfect place. Like don't
like I said, dude, it's a shame because I really like Far Cry 5 a lot.
But once you can start seeing like It's almost like
trying to tell.
Somebody's pulling the curtain back on you, and you can almost see it. It takes you out of the game.
Yep.
If the game just went the distance and just said, "Fuck it, we're gonna do it," you know what I mean?
Perfect example of a game doing that, and this is during a time that I am surprised that it actually came out. But Rockstar's Manhunt. Manhunt was like still to this day. I mean, I rebought it on PS4 via the PSN or whatever.
Now is that one edited at all on PS4? That's cool.
Nope.
I was just kind of wondering because like some of those games like I know like I remember like well it was I guess they're not really edited, but you know if you get San Andreas or Vice City on there. I know the soundtracks changed, and that was like I literally was like, "Fuck that! I'm gonna go pull out my PS2 version." You changed the soundtrack on me. You changed my childhood, or not my childhood, my teenhood.
But it's I don't know, man. Like, it's the one topic that I wanted to bring up tonight is about this whole censorship thing, and
well, that's you bring up Manhunt though. Like that time period was like that because then it's also you get into the San Andreas. Like I was playing San Andreas again. It's like I don't think a game like San Andreas could be released nowadays. God no! Like, cause I just think about like it's you know what I mean like that game is because I mean it's 1991 is when it takes place or 93 91 or something like that. So you just get this most hardcore like it's all based off of like Menace to Society and Boys in the Hood and all this stuff. So they're talking just like they do out of those movies. Yeah. But there is no way you would get that language in that game again. You know what I mean?
Now,
like,
Grand Theft Auto 5, the most recent version, kind of gets there. Not quite like San Andreas did. Not quite like...
it probably gets there like in other ways, though, I guess.
Yeah. It touches on the same thing, but in the same sense, like Far Cry 5, it tries to tackle a lot of these heavy issues and things, but kind of skirts around them or figures out a way to, you know, pull the wool over your eyes that, like, okay, everything's fine. You know, like, nothing's wrong here, you know, and stuff. I'm sure you saw that that RPG that just came out not too long ago called Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Oh yeah, that one.
So that realistic fucking
Knights of the Round
1400s, you know, actual historical fact type game, whatever the fuck that game is. I haven't played it myself.
It's a game that looked like it should be really cool, but I just didn't think it was gonna be as cool as it looked like it should have been.
So of course people are playing that game, and the activists are stepping out saying, "Where are all the black people?" Well, I'm sorry, in that particular time period, in that particular area of the world, there were not any black people there. There just wasn't. These people are going for historical accuracy, like.
And if it's taking place in like northern, you know, England and Europe and things like that, it's like that's just what's gonna be there. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing about activists and almost like protesters and so on that like I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for because it's like they're just very uneducated people that just speak emotionally. That's the worst thing you can do is speak from emotion. If you can't speak from reason, don't speak at all because emotion is not going to help any issue. And you know what I mean? It's like that's almost like going like like if we went to say like why in Wakanda is there not just like you know half white and half you know why is there not Asian people walking around? Why is there not you know like you know where's the Philippine people? Like where's that represented? It's like you're in Wakanda. Like why would there be other people? You know I don't think I just think some people they don't think. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's just and it's weird. You know what I mean? Like that's like going like okay we're gonna go to space. You know what I mean? And we're gonna be on another you know planet that has nothing to do with like humans. But now somebody's gonna be like oh. Well, you know, where's these people at? Why are they not here? It's like, well, we're in space and there's no humans here. Yeah. You know, and everybody's dog creatures. Like, you know, it's just saying, you know. And sadly enough, it's like they just bring those activist people. I don't know what it is. Like, it makes me feel kind of like, because, you know, like, you know, if you look at it like that falls more the liberal section. But I feel like that makes them feel like they're very conservative. Like, that right there is being as conservative as possible. Because really, a true liberal person would be like, you know what? You can say whatever the fuck you want. You can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, you could say a racist joke, but that's okay. You know what I mean? That's your thought, man. That's your thing. You know what I mean? If you want to have historical accuracy, go for it. Like, that's why I almost like, I give like Wolfenstein credit because that game felt balls in. The second one, I mean, the first one has it in there too, but like that's when you get like, you know, Blazkowicz's like origin story and like his father just like being this guy who's like a real hard edge guy and he's racist and he's old school like America and so on. But at the same time, even though he's got like these problems and he's not a good guy, he still has almost like good upbringing things. There's a scene in that game. It's like where you know Blazkowicz comes in. He's like 8 years old. He's like, oh, you know the kids at school they beat me up, mom, and whatever and stuff like that. And they took my knife. And the dad was just like, what the fuck? You let him take your knife? He's like, well, yeah. He's like, no, you go back out there and you fucking get your property back because you just get what you deserve. Don't you even come back here until you get what you have. And it was like, I thought that moment was almost like one of those ones like, you know, he hit his, you know, like his family and so on like this. And it was like total like hard old school like that. But I felt like it was still getting a point across. Like, no, you fight for what you like. It's like it creates the character of what Blazkowicz becomes. Though once again, though he's not the greatest person, you know, it's one of those ones. And yes, he's racist, and yes, he doesn't want him hanging out with the black girl next door, and so on like that. He still is like he's putting in this like this kind of like determination of like you could still be a well-rounded character and have flaws. And I think that's like the thing that a lot of people like forget nowadays. They just focus instantaneously like, oh, this person does one thing bad, they must be a terrible person all around. And it's like, no, as long as you gotta look at the big picture and go, yeah, you know, just like in life, you know, you might have a friend who's like, well, he's lazy, but he's a real funny guy. You know what I mean? Am I going to base the laziness based on, like, that he's a real funny guy? You know, and that's the same thing. It's like, here's his father. Like, okay, yeah, he might be racist. He might be, like, abusive and so on like that. But he's still teaching these, like, values into Blazkowicz that would carry on that maybe he would not be able to fight the Nazis this way if it wasn't for this upbringing. You know what I mean? Yeah. If he was, you know, brought into a world where everything was good and soft and nice, maybe that would not make a more effective killing machine. You know, when you have to get to World War II, and when World War II continues into like the 50s and 60s, what are you gonna do?
See, and this is you explaining all that right now is a prime fucking example of what a video game can do.
Yeah. And I think that game gets away with it, I'm just going to say it really quick, is because it's a period piece. I think sometimes you can get away with things a little... But then again, well, you bring up the Knights of the Round game, or the whatever the fuck that's called, and that game's getting shit on for being a 1400s game with no black people. Like, what, you want Morgan Freeman showing up like it's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? You know what I mean? Like...
It just really doesn't make sense, and it's upsetting to me because I can see, as a longtime gamer, I can see the censorship. And it's not really like FCC coming in and saying you can't have that. It's not what's happening.
It's people are afraid of the internet.
Is people are afraid to make a statement about something.
You know,
look at Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. The whole scene where you're in the airport and you're there to fucking slaughter all the people. That was. I
think of that level, and I still blows me away that a game like Call of Duty could, because at that period it wasn't like Call of Duty was kind of like starting out. Call of Duty was full on, strong as can be at that point. And they pull a ballsy move like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that's amazing. I think more stuff should have that kind of thing in there.
Absolutely.
Because I want to see what it's like to be, like, a terrorist. I don't mean that, like, in a sadistic way. I mean, like, I like to be able to see, like, you know what I mean? People don't just do things for no reason. I guess the older I get, like, I like to see the more well-rounded story. And I can almost find reasoning behind a lot of people's actions and so on. And kind of go like, okay, yeah, man, that might not be the right way, but I totally see where they're coming from in this. Yep. You know what I mean? They're not necessarily just a bad guy to be a bad guy. And I think that scene in there was almost like, it was just like, oh fuck, this is what it's like for when a terrorist come from their point of view coming in and shooting up an airport. Yeah. And I just thought, I was like, that to me, I'm so surprised that's like, that might make that game have a hard time ever getting a re-release.
Funny enough, this year, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is coming out. If you remember, last year they released Modern Warfare Remastered.
Are they going to do a Modern Warfare 2 Remastered? Oh my god.
Campaign only.
No Spec Ops?
So that's not confirmed yet. That's not confirmed.
If they don't have split screen in it, then I don't know if I'm going to get it, but...
They're talking campaign only, no multiplayer. I don't know about Spec Ops.
I'm fine. If it's campaign and Spec Ops, I would get it. Mm-hmm. But then again, it's like...
It's probably going to be bundled with Black Ops 4.
But then you're not going to have 4-player split screen. It's like, that's stupid. Once again, we get back to that thing. It's just like, nobody wants us to have fun at home anymore. You know what I mean? Like, they want everybody to be, like, separate. Is this what they're doing? Because they're going out there, they're separating us, they're not letting us get in our powwows anymore.
So get this. So the new Call of Duty, Black Ops 4... is being rumored, and we won't know until May 17th or so when the actual Call of Duty reveal event happens. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of speculation and rumor out there right now that Black Ops 4 is going to be multiplayer only, zombie only, and have a battle royale mode. No campaign.
You know, and I'll say this, like, realistically, at the end of the day, I think that's, like, the target audience of Call of Duty. Like, sure. I don't think that the people that go after the campaign mode... I think that the people who play campaign mode in Call of Duty are the kind of people that, hey, You want to borrow this game? Oh, okay. And they pop it in. Like, I don't think the people that nobody who goes out and spends $60 is buying it for the campaign mode. I'm just gonna say this. Like, I play the campaign mode, but then again, I've never bought a Call of Duty for $60. So go figure. You know what I mean?
See, and I have. And I love the campaign mode, but I inevitably gravitate towards multiplayer and zombies.
Yeah.
Inevitably. You know?
And for me, what it always was in Call of Duty, it was whatever like little like co-op mode they would have.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at Modern Warfare 2 because I actually was playing it again with Kyle, and I was just like, we're going through the Spec Ops again. It's like, dude, this Spec Ops is like this is so much fun for 2 people. Just to do these little challenges, and it's not even like one of those ones like at first you kind of look at it and go, oh, no, like campaign, like you know, which I always wish Modern Warfare 2 had like split screen campaign because that campaign was so good. Yeah. You know, and like I guess the last one to have it technically, really, well, I guess Black Ops 3 had it, but was Call of Duty 5. Mm-hmm. That one had it in there. God, there's an example of a game that like. when that game that had split screen in it, that resolution went to like 320 or something like that. They literally they added in points when you shoot enemies, so that I'm like, I know why they put the points in there because if they didn't have the points, I wouldn't know if I was killing anybody. I mean, granted, it's not saying it's unplayable, but boy, does that really does drop, and I mean, it's not clear at all. Yeah. I mean, and once again, I'll take that. If that's all I get, I'm fine. Shit, give me Halo 5 at 480. I am fine with 480. That's fine. 480p at least. Come on. But
give me that progressive scaling, not interlace.
Yeah, give me just that little bit of extra like smoothness. But other than that, though, yeah. It just came a bummer though. There's so many good games that I just feel like if they just had the co-op in there, like even Wolfenstein would be one of those games like if it just had co-op in there, it'd be so much better. It's already an amazing game, and that's actually a first-person shooter I'll go out and buy, but it'd be that much better if Doom had co-op in there. It'd be so awesome. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Because here's the thing, is like, those are all the kind of games, like, you know, I can play them about once. If I'm lucky, maybe I'll get around to it a second time. But, like, if it was co-op, I could probably play those games, like, 2, 3, 4 times. I'd get so much more use out of it, have so much more fun. Sure. And it's just a bummer to me. I don't know. I guess, to me, I feel like that's, like, I almost feel like the online is, like, what really separates between a retro gamer or an old school gamer and a modern gamer is literally the online. That is, like, I feel that is, like, the definitive line that separates between, it's not graphics, it's not anything like that, it's literally like once you stop having, you know, multiplayer in the house, I feel that is what separates. You know, modern gaming is online gaming, retro gaming is, you know, playing 4 players, you know, in the same room. Yep. And I feel that right there is what separates. And I feel like that almost is like what splits me farther and farther from like modern games. There's a lot of games I don't even buy if I can't play it multiplayer or something like that, I just kind of go, it's just not for me. Or split screen multiplayer that is, or you know, co-op or something like that. I skip out on a lot of them just because it's just like, you know, it's like I'll gravitate to something like single player. Like, you know, the game I'm looking most forward to this year is the new Tomb Raider one. That game by far, that's what I'm gonna get right there. Hell, the 2 games I'm really looking forward to is that and fucking the Spyro collection. Like, that Spyro collection sounds fucking sick.
Yeah. That's been a long time coming too, man. I've been waiting on that one, but.
And then Red Dead if it decides to come out this year. Yeah. But that's one of the ones. Those are the kind of games like, it can take its sweet time because we know it'll just be that dialed in by the time it finally comes out. Yep. Though shit, by the time it fucking comes out, they're going to have to put out a new PlayStation and Xbox. Yeah, I know. It's that time.
I'm calling it, dude. I've been calling it for the last handful of years. I think next 4th quarter, if not next 4th quarter, summer or 4th quarter of 2020. But Q4 2019, I really have a strong feeling there's going to be a PS5 release.
Well, it's realistically, the PS5 should be coming out this Christmas by, you know, the way that systems always do. They always go in a 6-year cycle for like the last, you know, almost 30 years. Yeah. Unless you're Sega. Who jumps the gun.
Did you hear about that new Sega platform potentially coming?
Is it an actual system or is it going to be like that Atari one where it's going to be like
No, it's an actual system. I heard rumor speculation is that E3 this year might be unveiled. They're calling it the Dreamcast 2.
Huh. Now, I've heard of, like, the Dreamcast 2 is in, like, that, there's that one where it's supposed to be, like, it's a Dreamcast, but then it's got a hard drive in it and so on, but I think that was sort of like a side thing. Yeah. If the Sega actually does do that would be pretty sweet. And Sega could do that, like, well, the Atari system, like, when they brought that up, my first thing I thought was, like, you know what would be the fucking biggest thing they could do is if Atari did a real system and then said Call of Duty exclusive, because they own it. Yep. Like, they could, that would be such a devastating blow to both PlayStation and Xbox. Like, And I would love just to see that. I would just love to see somebody else come in and just say, fuck it. Like, why not?
Or
plus Atari has a bunch of other games too. That's not the only game.
I've always said that, Steam for a while there, the 2010, 11, 12, somewhere around there, Steam was pushing Steam boxes really hard. Getting a PC in your living room is what they were pushing really hard. The way that they could have won, quote unquote, the console wars, release the 3s, man. Release Portal 3, release Left 4 Dead 3, release Half-Life 3, release, Team Fortress 3. Like, all their major titles, just release the 3s exclusive for a Steam box.
That's how you do it. You win a console war by the exclusives.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, like Atari, if they would have done that, they got the killer. They got literally the game that makes more. They got a system. People would buy that Atari one just for Call of Duty. Yeah. Because there's a lot of people. I always call not to put Call of Duty down, but I always feel Call of Duty, it's the modern casual gamer.
It's very casual.
You know what I mean? It's one of those games where it's like a lot of casual games, I feel like this. Anybody can kind of jump in and play, and I don't really necessarily call it because casual game mostly means like people start thinking of phone games where it's like, oh, you just tap buttons and nothing happens. No. What I always consider a casual game, it's the kind of one where you talk to somebody who doesn't really play video games, like, oh yeah, I have a system. Well, what do you have? I got Call of Duty and Madden. Yep. That's what I consider casual games. You know what I mean? They're not hardcore games because it's not like you're getting the lore and you're getting into these characters and you're getting into history and so on like that. Because, very few people pull up Call of Duty and go like, you remember in Call of Duty 2 when, somebody says this phrase. No, the people that play Call of Duty don't have that. They don't even realize that Call of Duty is actually Medal of Honor originally. That's how it stemmed. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have that historical thing in it, and that's why I can always consider it sort of a casual one. But the idea, like, if Atari just came out with a full-on real system...
They'd kill it.
Oh, my God.
They'd kill it. Because Call of Duty is, if not one of the biggest first-person shooter franchises out there.
It's the biggest one since Halo.
Multi-billion-dollar.
And it's really surpassed... I hate to say it, but it's really surpassed Halo multiple times over.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing, it's like if Sega does their own system, Sega still has like properties, like they have more properties than Nintendo has. They probably have double the amount of properties.
Sure. And
they got big ones too, like Yakuza. Like that does so well for them, make that back on their system exclusive. I want to say Bayonetta's produced by them. It's not made by them, but it's produced by them. I want to say. Because they got a handful of games that like you don't really think of them being Sega games, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's a Sega game? Yeah. You know what I mean? So like if they pulled those ones, and then if they started doing the thing where they like started bringing back their old series and just making sweet modern versions of them, they really could. But that's a project all in itself, and so on. But yeah, that's probably a good place. We can probably all wrap it up, or we'll go on. We'll go on forever and so on. But
for your viewers, as of this year, Shadow of the Colossus. Fucking incredible. Far Cry 5. Awesome Ubisoft title. God of War.
None of these ones I played. You know what I got instead? I got the Fear Effect new game. That's what when I saw that coming out, I was like, that game doesn't have to be good. I'm going to buy that for the fact that somebody is actually bringing a game that hasn't been made in like 18 years.
Yeah.
Or 17 years, since Fear Effect 2 was 2000. Shit, that might have been 2000. Let's say 2001. Maybe it was just 2000. That to me blew my mind. It's just like the idea that somebody could just actually bring back something like this. I was like, fuck it. Yeah. It got like terrible reviews, but I actually thought it was pretty good still. Yeah. But maybe it's just one of those ones.
You can't go off reviews, man.
And plus, it's one of those ones like too. It's like
play the shit on your own.
Yeah, and plus, I got it on Switch too. I was like, fucking, I need a new Switch game anyways. I thought it was cool. I mean, it's not like an amazing game or anything like that.
Real quick on Switch, are you gonna get Mario Tennis?
I don't know.
I think I'm gonna get Mario Tennis.
Are you gonna get it?
I think so.
It's probably fun. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like, all the Mario Tennis are always good. Play the 64 one every once in a while.
It looks fucking cool, dude.
And it's like Mario, and I bet you it will be. I really want to get a new game for my Switch anyways. I just always feel like... Yeah. Because everything comes out, it's like, well, I already have that on Wii U. Well, I already have that, or something like that.
Oh, that was the other thing I want to ask. What's your prediction on the next Pokemon game for the Switch? How do you think it's going to be?
If it's one of those ones, like, if they just go full Switch, and if they go Final Fantasy, like this, I mean... I've been saying this literally since the N64 days, because this is my picture's like, okay, you know what Final Fantasy VII looks like? Make that on the N64, but it's Pokemon instead, and like it's like that.
Yep.
And I don't know why Nintendo's never ever went the distance to do that, because they could have like, in a sense, I guess nowadays it's like you want to have something compete. As long as they just, the thing is, I hope they don't turn it from like turn based, because that's my always fear nowadays.
Yeah. Leave it the same.
I enjoyed Final Fantasy 15, but I'll tell you this: if it was turn-based, it'd be 10 times better. That's just how it was.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm the polar opposite, because I love 15's combat, dude. That game's so much fun. But no, I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying.
It's like those ones like I like being able to control all my characters and so on. Like
I
that.
do hope that they have the pseudo elements that is within New Age gaming, and I know you're kind of against it, but I hope that they have a completely fleshed out single player campaign you can play offline or online. Mm-hmm. And I hope that they have, not in the sense of an entire game world, like MMO style, but in terms of like central hubs, major cities, having to be able to have those trainer battles, to be able to have those tournaments within gyms and things like that, where you actually have this ecosystem of players being able to join the same servers and play against each other and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Trade, do everything you could do on the original Game Boy, you know, like with the transfer.
Well, Pokemon's actually been really good about like online, like the one on like the latest Pokemon games and stuff like that. Like their online thing is pretty marvelous. I mean, like you just pull up players and so on and click through, and like they got that pretty dialed in.
Keep that.
Like, you know, more than you'd almost expect, especially if you haven't played a Pokemon in a game in a long time. It's like, yeah, you can just randomly just like trade with people and find people and battle people and do whatever you want. And if you don't even want to touch that at all, you can just kind of not even look at it and never see it. And I think that's the way to kind of keep it. It's just
I've been so far out of the loop with Nintendo for so fucking long that I don't. Literally, the last Pokemon game I played was Pokemon Gold.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
I mean, outside of like Stadium and shit.
Yeah, something like that.
But like, as in terms of like a mainline Pokemon game, and I've been watching them all. I saw Black and White, and I saw an X and Y, and I saw like every fucking iteration since Gold to then. Mm-hmm. But I've never played it myself.
Yeah.
So the opportunity for like a mainline Pokemon game coming to an actual fancy piece of hardware, that is dockable or on the go. Please, Nintendo, please don't fucking disappoint me on that. And I feel like my bar is so low that I really can't be disappointed.
Well, if they just do it in the same way that they've always done them, and just, because that's what they do. They just like slightly improve them each time, but those improvements are like amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, just keep that kind of thing going, and just, as long as they just don't try to radically change the gameplay. That's the only like fear I have, is that they would come out and they try to make it be like Monster Hunter. It's like, no, we don't play Pokemon because we want to play Monster Hunter. You know what I mean? Like the idea, I just always hate when the games kind of sell out, you know, and it's like, no. It's like, you don't get it. The reason why people like your game is because it's not this other game. Yeah. And it's, people don't want to, mix and match, I mean, like, it's almost like Call of Duty kind of ruined so many other things. It's like, everybody's trying to, like, be Call of Duty, and it's like, no, we don't want to play this game because it's Call of Duty.
Fucking Halo, man.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, you play Halo to play Halo, you play Call of Duty to play Call of Duty, and so on. It's like, and it's just like that, it's like, I always kind of hate, or it's like Mass Effect 2. Mass Effect 2 is the other example I always kind of say, and that's a good game still, but it's like they sold out. They didn't want to be like Mass Effect. They're like, well, this Gears of War seems to be kind of popular. Yeah. Let's try to be more towards that instead of being an RPG. Man. Yeah, and that's that.
Well, and in terms of everything, all in all, I am extremely impressed with what Nintendo's doing right now. That Nintendo Switch console, granted, is not my day-to-day use console. I don't play that thing as much as I do my PS4 or even my PC. However, how novel that fucking thing is, and how many good games have come out that are fucking masterpieces. Like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8, granted is a port. But
it's like the best Mario Kart, though.
Yeah, there's all these different games. The Skyrim that I picked up that I mentioned earlier, Skyrim on the Switch is mind-boggling that I am playing fucking Skyrim in its entirety with its DLC all on one cartridge. Mm-hmm. No download fucking needed.
Yeah.
That is fucking incredible. Bayonetta 1-2 coming out with 3, like the exponential amount of games that are being ported or being developed for that console is insane. Mm-hmm. And for anybody to deny Nintendo that they've made a comeback at this point is fucking stupid. Yeah. And there's a ton of them out there. There's a ton of people out there that just are sick of Nintendo through the Wii and Wii U days that...
Well, people are just gonna hate on Nintendo just because. Yeah. It's one of those ones, people think it, like, they'll pull up the Wii and stuff, but people hated on Nintendo in the GameCube era, they hated on Nintendo in the N64 era. Nintendo's always gonna be kind of like bagged on just because... Yeah. And it mostly always comes from like people that like get into like, you know, they feel like they're the more adult system people, and it's like they don't realize that like, here's the thing, this Nintendo is gonna have a better game than your PlayStation and Xbox combined, but you're just never gonna understand.
Yeah.
You know, I always feel like the Switch is almost like it's the perfect companion to a PC. I feel like if you have that, you got everything except for the handful of exclusives from PS4 and Xbox. Well,
and this is where, speaking about PC culture, you know, everybody says about gender fluid and whatnot. Well, I call myself a fluid. How the hell do I say it? A fluid gamer, because I do. I have PC, I have Nintendo Switch, and I have the PS4.
Yeah.
I get the best of all Sony's exclusive. I get the best of all Nintendo's exclusive. Anything that Microsoft is dropping. Yeah. Not every case, but more often than not, I can play on my PC. Plus, I have Steam. What's better than that? You know?
Yeah, you know what I mean. That's how I feel. It's like, I don't know. When people become like the kind of loyalist to one system or another, it kind of bums me out. It's just like I feel like you're not experiencing gaming properly. Yeah. You should love every system, even the flawed systems. You know what I mean? You know, like why not? Like it's that to me is what I consider almost like a hardcore gamer. Yeah. You know. If you just buy like the one system people always kind of bum me out. Like they just get one system and they won't buy anything else and that's it. Yeah, I know. I've tried to peer pressure many people into doing that, and that's how I feel. It's just like one of those ones like it's like that one system loyalist thing. It's just like it's never, you know, they'll pull excuses on you, but it's like, dude, you take the money you're gonna spend like on a couple of, you know, junk games anyways, and just actually get another system and get some real good and just get the good games. You know what I mean? Get the good stuff. You know what I mean? Don't waste your time on other things. I don't know. Always kind of bums me out when there's just certain things like that. It's just like. Yeah. You know, and
well, gamers be gamers, man. It fucking is what it is. But you know what? God damn it, this has been a hell of a podcast, and I've really enjoyed talking to you, my friend.
I know, and I haven't got to talk about games like this in a while. It seems like, so that's always fun too.
Hell yeah.
So
hell yeah.
That's always kind of the nice thing. But check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comics, cartoons, and more. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes,
and I am Cameron,
and we'll see you some other time. Thanks again for listening to the Old Man Orange podcast. Be sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comics, animations, videos, and a whole lot more. You can easily support the show by buying something from one of our Amazon links on the website or in the show's description itself. Doesn't cost you a penny, but every single thing you buy from there just by using that link to take you to Amazon helps us out a bit. You can also really help the show out, though, by spreading the word the good old-fashioned way. And rate and review us on all the sites that you find this podcast. Anything from iTunes to Podbean to Newgrounds, YouTube, you name it. Any little bit helps. Give a sub and share it to your friends, family, any jamoke you see out on the street. You let them know about Old Man Orange Podcast. And be sure to check out the Old Man Orange comic book Pizza Boys on both Amazon and Comixology. Till then, we'll see you some other time.